Where's the intro? There it is. Hello, sharks. This is intense. Did you take all that video? Good morning. Did you take all that, Skylar?
I sure did.
You took all those images? That's incredible.
Yeah, well, I did it for a very long time.
Yeah,
Actually, my buddy Andy, there's a couple of great white shark shots in there that my buddy Andy shot. I couldn't resist.
You make every week Shark Week.
Good morning to Sharks 365. I'm glad you found today's show. I think you're going to find it quite compelling.
With that intro, I'm already compelled.
Cool, man. I'm glad. It's kind of, I usually have shark people well immersed in the shark world on the show. It's good to have, it's kind of refreshing to have I guess I'll call you a non-shark person. I mean, you don't do it for a living, right?
A neophyte, a novice, an ignoramus when it comes to sharks. I like sharks.
Coast Rider came over. Cool.
Hey, that's
Coast
nice
Riders.
to see. Coast Rider, thanks for being here. But let me ask you, okay, so first of all, just because that was such a phenomenal intro, you know how I get about intros. So you're telling me are you in like a man goes into cage goes into water, shark's in the water, shark. Is that you? Are you in the cage like in Jaws?
Only when I have to be. I'm usually not in a cage.
You're not in a cage, so the sharks are just swimming around you, sticking a camera in their faces?
Yes.
What?
And a GoPro even. I don't have the giant dome ports like these other guys protecting themselves.
You're
like
just
this.
in there, just free balling, waiting for the sharks to get you. Wow.
365 asks if I met Andy Casagrande. No, an old friend named Andy Delios. Do you know, how familiar are you with sharks? Do you know Shark Week? Do you know any of the names? Like Andy's a pretty famous shark cinematographer.
Like very, very passively, I would say. Like I remember one time, when I was a kid, of course, they started Shark Week, and I thought it was so cool. But then I thought it was a little bit. I always get upset around Shark Week because people make it. Cows kill more people than sharks. Deer kill more people than sharks, and yet people are always made to be afraid of sharks, and it's not really fair.
Nailing it.
And so when I see Shark Week, I always think of that, and I always feel like they're kind of making sharks look like the monsters of the sea, and I don't see them like that. Am I crazy?
Wow. Hey, so everyone, this is Skyjack
Skyjack Morgan. That's me.
And you're looking very dapper today, by the way.
Thanks.
And Sky agreed to come on and co-host with me so that we could have the voice of someone who represents non-shark people and asks questions that help everyone understand what's going on, because we have a very important presentation coming from Dr. Enrico Gennari later. But the things that you just said, I want to tell everyone that was not scripted, but it's a lot of my content is calling out Shark Week. You, without any motivation from me, just said, man, Shark Week kind of makes sharks look like shit.
Yeah, at least my memory, because when I was a kid, I remember Shark Week, and they would show the sharks jumping out and like eating some kind of dead animal that they're baiting, and I remember that. And when I was a kid, I thought it was cool, but I haven't seen it in years. I thought maybe I thought you were going to tell me it's gotten better. I thought maybe they've.
No. Why would anything be getting better?
I guess you're right. Nothing seems to be getting better these days. I'm losing my hope. I'm trying to have some optimism here. I thought maybe because it's the Discovery Channel. I thought maybe they would have done something differently in the last 20 years. I haven't really seen it in
Discovery's
so
owned
long.
by who?
I think Disney, right? Is it Disney? Who
Yeah,
owns
do you think
Discovery?
that's a good thing?
No, sir, I do not. But
Well, there we go. There we go.
no, sir, I do not think that the homogenization of our culture is going to result in anything good. But I don't know. I thought people
Let's see.
culture evolves. Culture evolves.
Is that what you're seeing in society? Are you seeing culture evolving?
Skylar, I've had such a bad 24 hours. I'm trying to find hope wherever I can. I'm trying to find
I'm here to
hope
shoot it down. I'm here to
wherever
shoot
I
it
can.
down.
I'm just trying not to cry. I'm just trying to laugh so I don't cry at this point. Just
Hey, we do have hope. Our guest scientist today has some great research and is finally, as the thumbnail says, breaking the surface of what's actually happening in South Africa, and maybe we can stop wasting time with the distractions and get back to protecting these animals. As Sharks 365 says, Shark Week has
gotten
things
worse.
called cocaine sharks.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know what a cocaine shark is. Is that a
I
shark?
don't either, but you can imagine it's not a very good program.
No, it's like Cocaine Bear or something. I remember Cocaine Bear is a fun movie, but I guess that makes sense. Cocaine Shark, Sharknado. I remember Sharknado. That was
Yeah.
with Ian Ziering. That was fun. I guess
Yeah.
they're always kind of depicted as these monsters. Every 10 years or so, they got to come out with a new shark movie where sharks are bigger and meaner and scarier. But I just think they're just big fish, and I love fish. I'm a Pisces.
Oh, well, that's one reason to like sharks.
just joking. That's why I'm a Pisces, so I love fish, and sharks are just fish, right? So
This is true. They are fish.
they're just fish with teeth.
Hey, you did better than a lot of people. Not everyone gets that part.
The sharks are fish?
Yeah.
And you got to love the hammerhead. The hammerhead's so cool looking, right? Everyone thinks the hammerheads are cool,
Absolutely.
right? I've
Hey,
seen
look,
a couple
Tree Spirit
sharks.
Project is chiming in.
Oh,
That's
good
Jack.
morning, Tree Spirit. That's Jack. That's beautiful. Hey, Jack. I'd love to see a Tree Spirit Project. How does Jack feel about sharks? Does he like sharks?
Well, he says he's never been in the water with sharks, but I love them as beautiful animals. I know I have been both they have been glorified and demonized by Earth's apex killer, us humans. This
Yeah,
is
we
all
call
true.
ourselves apex killers while we're waiting in line around while we're waiting in line in our cars to eat out of paper boxes outside the Whataburger. Like,
I know, man.
I'm an apex predator waiting in line in my car at a Whataburger so I can eat it out of a paper box. It's so disgusting what we've become. Hey, I actually have been in the water with sharks though. I learned how to
Wow.
when I was a kid.
Knowingly,
Sort of.
or accidentally.
A little bit of both. I was in Mexico and I was taking my I was getting certified for scuba diving. You could do that on vacation down there,
Right.
And when I was a kid, this is 30 something years ago, but I was a kid and they we're doing it and I was down there learning how to scuba dive and a shark came by and it was scary because how everything's 10% bigger or something like that with those goggles. I thought the shark was way bigger than he seemed big. He actually wasn't as big as I thought. And it was a little shark came by, and but we wanted to see sharks, right? As a kid, you want to see sharks. If you're going scuba diving, you want to see sunken ships and sharks, right? It's kind of what you want to see down there. Are you scuba diving when you're doing all this down there?
There's probably a couple of breath hold shots in there, but yeah, mostly scuba.
Wow, that's amazing. How often do you go down there and swim with the sharks?
God, dude, it's you had to ask that. It feels like an eternity ago.
Not as often as you'd like.
Well, I started working on other wildlife projects and not sharks, and as you can imagine, these are destination types of events, so they're expensive to accomplish.
Yeah, that makes sense because you're traveling. Because I live so close to the water. When I lived on the beach, I used to surf all the time. I'd surf I'd go in the water every day, and I lived right by the ocean.
And you're in SoCal.
Yeah. So I lived.
You're next to baby great whites all the time if you're surfing.
Yeah, we see. Not, I don't know about great whites in Orange County, but maybe they say that they're down there. Every once in a while, you see sharks and dolphins and whales. We see whales. They're usually further out, than us
Hmm.
surfers. But we'll see them, and sometimes scary stuff happens down there. Like an animal will kind of get a little too close, and you're kind of surprised. When I was a kid, when I was a kid, we do not have otters down here, but I swear to God, I saw an otter. He might have been a seal or a sea lion maybe, but
Those are very different
well,
from
they
an otter.
small because you hear something, right? You're out there, it's quiet, then you hear something, and then you look and you see a mammal face dunk down and swim away when he sees you. He's scoping you out too, right? And like we startled each other, I suppose. But I mean, a sea lion could be dangerous too. Wild
Oh,
animals.
and they're huge, and they have teeth, and they have claws.
Yeah, like
I mean,
dogs.
if you've ever seen, you see the faces of great whites. Sometimes they've got these, claw marks on them. That was
Just from
from
their
the things that they eat.
Yeah, that was from like yes, yeah, exactly, right. And they're fighting for their lives, so they're scratching the shark's face. So I've seen lots of animals out there, and I spent a lot of time. I used to. I still. It's funny because as soon as I asked you about the scuba diving. The smell in my memory was of a wetsuit. That was my smell all of a sudden, like the smell of neoprene. Yes. And I have a wetsuit, and it's like crumpled up in the corner of my garage right now next to my surfboard that I haven't used in 5 years. And because I live like 20 minutes from the ocean now, and I never go. But when I was
Isn't
in
it
walking
amazing
distance,
how 20 minutes makes the difference? It's compared to other people, you're like next to the ocean, but 20 minutes makes the difference.
yeah, like I'm still west of the 5 freeway, so on a really, really clear day, I could feel the ocean breeze, or in my imagination. Uh, Not really, but close enough, and I can imagine that it's an ocean breeze. Anytime the wind blows, we're like, that's the ocean. But I can't actually. I used to walk. I could walk to the beach, and so I would go there every day. Every morning, I'd run on the beach, and then I'd jump in the water with a boogie board or a surfboard, depending. I loved it, and every once in a while, I would see animals out there. Sometimes sharks, and no one ever bit me.
No, no, it's amazing. It's it when we think about what sharks are capable of, and as we just talked about, the animals that sharks eat could kill us. So imagine how easy it would be for a shark to kill us if they chose to.
And it almost
They're
never
leaving-
happens.
No, they're leaving us alone. And as who was it? Coast Riders said that more people die falling off their kayaks or whatever than sharks. I mean, a bad year is 10 people globally killed by
Not
sharks.
even killed. That's just attacked, right?
No,
they don't
no,
actually get-
it's a bad year of being killed is 10.
Oh.
Attacks are around 100 or something like that, but that's including like when fishermen are like unhooking sharks that they just fucking assaulted.
Yeah,
Sorry, pardon
yeah.
my language.
I thought we weren't supposed to
The
curse
damn-
on this one.
The damn animal.
You told me not to curse. So
Did I? I mean, I'm trying to improve. I'm not telling anyone else what to do. I have a sailor's mouth, and I'm trying to improve on.
Yarg, shiver me timbers. It's surprising. 10 seems like a lot to me, but then I compare it to cows, and it's hundreds. Hundreds of people are killed by cows every year globally. How many people are killed? And of course, the most dangerous animal on earth. You know what that is?
Us.
Besides us, the non-human animal. Probably, actually, I bet you the mosquito kills more. Oh, I gave it away. The mosquito probably
think
kills more
mosquitoes at
humans
the
than
top.
other humans. Yeah. I'm trying to Google how many people are killed by cows each year, and of course, I didn't even get. I just said how many people are killed, and Google fills in cops. How many people are killed by cops each year? Cops are more dangerous than sharks.
Cops in one town are more dangerous.
Yes.
I mean, look, as someone who's done the sharks for a very long time, you come up with all kinds of comparisons to do. I mean, people in New York have bitten more other human beings in a year than sharks have bitten people. And that's not, I'm not making that up. Like humans biting other people, even cannibals going ahead and consuming them because sharks rarely actually consume the people that they bite.
Right, because I don't think they bit off more than they could chew. I don't think they're trying to.
Ha!
I don't think they were trying to attack a big animal like a human. So about 22 people die annually in America from sharks every year. Trampling,
No,
crushing,
where
goring.
are you getting this?
Not
Are you
sharks.
mean
Sorry,
cows?
cows.
Oh,
Sharks.
so can we sue ranchers? Can
Yeah, we
we sue
should.
ranchers?
Sharks are
Because they're
5
endangering
annually.
us, apparently.
They are. Well, if you
Double.
don't.
They're endangering us double what the most feared animal on the planet does to us. So I
In
think we
America
have a
alone.
case.
Yeah, it said that the sharks on average kill 5 Americans annually, according to this
Yeah, I mean,
Google
that's-
search.
Yeah, in a lot of years it's one.
And also in Australia and New Zealand, cows kill way more people. U.S. Cows kill more people than wolves or sharks by a lot. So there you go. I mean,
That's interesting.
I think so. And if you count, heart disease, prostate cancer, breast cancer, and all of the associated diseases with eating cows, then I think the numbers are astronomical. Cows kill a lot of people. Or dairy. I mean, dairy. It's bad for you. People get cancer from it.
Yeah, and you can get cancer from shark flesh because of the mercury levels, because of all the pollution in the ocean, and yet fish and chips is being sold as a popular item in Australia, and as we may hear,
They're not making that out of sharks, are they?
they are, unfortunately.
No.
In fact, a lot. We're going to hear a little bit from our scientists today, but some of the sharks being caught in South Africa are sent to Australia for fish and chips, for flake and chips, they call it there.
And it's just shark meat? That's holy. I did not know that. I thought the only people eating shark meat were like the people doing the finning. I thought that was just who eats.
They don't even eat the shark meat. Sadly,
Yeah, they
enough.
just do the fins, right? And they throw the rest
Right.
away. I mean, that's crazy. That's even crazier. I thought that was. I mean, that's brutal enough. I didn't know that people were eating shark meat and fish and chips. I had no idea flake and chips was a shark. I've heard of flake and chips. I didn't know it was a shark meat. But also, when are people going to realize like eating predators is a really bad idea because of accumulation of poisons, toxic accumulation.
Yep.
I was out doing advocacy for animals and in some podunk place in the middle of nowhere in America, and this guy's like, I kill all sorts of animals and I eat them. I killed a bobcat last week and I ate him. And I'm like, what? A bobcat? You're going to die, bro. You're not supposed to be eating cats. Holy crap. Like, then it came down to like, please stop killing cats and eating them. That became my outreach. I wasn't even talking about animal rights anymore. I'm like, you are going to die if you keep eating. Like,
Yeah, you can. As long as you're trying to help humans, then you can talk about it.
Yeah, I
if you're trying to
guess.
help the animal, then you're a weirdo. But if
Yes,
it's for their
exactly.
health- if it's for their health,
I mean, people
Hey.
try to eat bear too. They'll die. You're not supposed to be eating bear. That's why there's more plastic in a cow than. That's why, because cows eat plastic, and then they accumulate the plastic, and then people eat the cow, and then they get plastic in their balls.
what's Jack have to say here? Can you read that for us?
Cows cause an estimated 20 to 22 fatalities per
that's
year in
what
the
you
United
said.
States alone. Yeah. Similar risks in other countries like the UK, where the causes average of 5 deaths annually. Well, there's fewer people and fewer cows, but yeah, it's like 100 a year globally, right? I mean, it's a lot of people die of cows.
I wonder how many it is in South Africa because sadly, I think a lot of Americans who were raised on discovery think of Africa as wildlife, but it's an awful lot of cattle that are pushing out wildlife. So it's not like it's just here. And
That makes perfect
Jack goes
sense.
Jack goes on to say what?
Most fatalities are in ag settings due to trampling, goring, crushing, often involving mother cows defending calves. Mm-hmm. Yep.
How dare
And
they?
all sorts of accidents happen on farm. Like we're interacting with these animals in captivity. I mean, a cow could hit a fence, and that fence could swing open and kill you. I mean, this type of stuff happens on these farms. They're usually immigrants, though, so we don't really hear about it very often.
Who
Well,
cares about them?
I think that's. I mean, honestly, why don't we hear about it more? I'm almost positive because most of the people who are dying out there, like if you ever go to these dairies or these farms, who's working out there? They're not like it's not like a bunch of white guys.
No, it's definitely not. I
Yeah,
can tell you that in California for sure.
yeah, it's not the white guys. They're going. They're all whistling and stuff. It's like they're. It's not. It's the white guys are the ones in the trucks maybe, but or in the offices, but not in the field with the cows. Not getting gored. Dogs killed a lot
Well,
too, but that makes sense.
what do we got? Some more comments we should read here because I should warm you up for what's happening because you haven't seen. I'm guessing you haven't seen my films about the topic we're going to talk about today.
No.
Okay, South Africa,
South Africa.
as you have seen featured on Shark Week, back when you used to watch Shark Week with
Yeah.
the leaping great whites and everything, was the first country to protect white sharks. Kind of a good PR moment for South Africa. Well, they're also going to be the first country to lose that species, an iconic species. And this is as a direct cause of mismanagement by the government. So that's pretty interesting by itself. I think we could discuss what I just said right there for the entire rest of the show.
I mean,
Now,
you know how
one,
I feel about government, so
you love it.
yeah, that's my favorite. The government. What do you mean they messed that up? How could they? I thought they did everything right.
Yeah. Politicians tell the truth. We all trust politicians.
When you said they were going to protect the sharks, I figured case closed. All in a day's work, gentlemen. Way to go. But I guess
Well,
not.
it's actually interesting because we're going to find out today that it kind of worked. It kind of worked for a while, and then it stopped working because of things we're going to learn about today. There's the threat. The threats facing the white sharks are coming from two main sources, and two documentaries that I've done focus on one of those sources, and that's the intentional culling of the very species that government has chosen to protect. So they are actually spending government resources to kill the animals that they have said that is protected. And this is true of several countries that have listed white sharks as protected. Australia and New Zealand for a while, although New Zealand stopped doing it. Good for them.
Okay, what's the ostensible purpose for the culling? Is it like
Tourism. It happens right in front of resorts. It happens right in front of hotels. That's my assessment, and it because where the white shark hotspots were in South Africa, you'll find this interesting. Where most of the Discovery Channel shows were filmed, no culling, no killing down there, and yet that's where all the sharks are. Oh my God! Everyone should be dying there, right? It's up on by Durban, where it's a whole line of high-rise hotels, etc.
the resorts?
Yeah, and this goes back to the 50s, the early 50s, when tourism was emerging there, and whaling was taking place, and whaling was attracting big sharks to the shore right when tourism was emerging. So some people got bitten, and ever since then, the entire ocean has been punished with just an ongoing slaughter of every form of marine life that you can imagine. Everything gets killed in these nets. It's just walls of death. So they have these things called shark nets in South Africa and in other places of the world. But this is what a couple of my documentaries have been about.
Okay.
And there has been a distraction from the real source of killing marine life to focus on orcas, because an orca, killer whale.
Yeah, sure. I've seen orcas. I've seen Free Willy.
And have you seen Jaws 2?
I have seen Jaws too. Yeah.
You remember the dead orca on the beach?
Oh yeah, the Jaws killed the orca, right? Yeah, that's
Right,
you're gonna need a
pretty
bigger
crazy,
boat.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that actually happens. Actually, the opposite happens. Orcas actually kill
Sharks.
whites.
Yes.
Occasionally, and other sharks. Yes.
Because they're mammals, they hunt together. They're like they're pretty smart. Orcas, I hear, they hunt like wolves.
Orcas are very smart, but apparently they can take a white shark out one-on-one though. They don't even
Oh.
need the pack uh, method. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're another level of amazing. So these orcas were blamed for the disappearance of white sharks in South Africa instead of looking at the fishing industry, instead of looking at the Natal Sharks Board, who cull white sharks and other animals in their nets every single year.
Hmm.
And there have been a lot of scientists working on this, and it kind of got split into people that were ready to jump on board with, yeah, orcas are to blame, and it's not the demersal longline industry, and it's not the Natal Sharks Board.
It's
these
all the orcas. So we got to kill the orcas now.
Well, I got to tell you, man, I'm a pessimist, and I was like, how long is it going to be before that happens?
Oh, it's not happening? I assumed that it already was. I thought that's where the story was going. Yeah, how long is it going to be? I thought it was already happening. I thought that's where we were going. I mean, it makes... that's usually what we do, right? Oh, well, these sharks keep on ending up dead. It couldn't be what we're doing.
No.
The
I mean,
orcas.
that was my very first reaction back in 2017 when this started happening. I was just like,
It's never the humans.
yeah, no, we'll blame anything except for ourselves.
Yeah, we never look in the
How
mirror.
convenient.
Yeah,
How convenient. Thank you, orcas.
we'll never look in the mirror like, who's doing this? Couldn't be anything we're doing.
It's never us. Humans,
Never us
says
humans, says
T-Surd.
Sead Jan.
Oh, is that how you say it?
Yeah, he's Dutch.
Hey, what do you think? What do you think of Skyjack Morgan talking sharks? What do you guys think? Is this interesting? I mean, sharks are fascinating for everybody, right? Even if you
Everyone
don't
likes
like them, they're
sharks.
fascinating.
And killer whales. We even got killer whales in the mix. I mean,
I
once you got
know.
sharks and killer whales, I was about to bring up, have you ever seen the movie Zombie 2 where there's a shark versus zombie sequence? Have you ever seen the shark versus zombie sequence? It's a remarkable sequence in the movie. Shark versus zombie. Amazing stuff by the Italian director. I forget his name right now, but zombie. Are you Googling shark versus zombie?
No, I thought Enrico had the link. I just saw he requested it again. So
Awesome.
He should be
We're gonna have the doctor in the house here pretty soon. So I mean, so they're not killing the orcas yet in South Africa. They're just killing sharks still.
I mean, who knows?
We can't let orcas kill sharks. That's our job. We're protecting good jobs for for South Africans.
Because it's not just South Africa. Here on the West Coast, going from California all the way up into Canada and all the way up to Alaska, you'll have fishermen who get mad when orcas try to eat some of the fish that they're slaughtering by the ton. And they've
yeah.
unofficially killed orcas.
That makes sense. That makes sense. They kill everybody out there. I mean, out here in California, they kill the sea lions too. They kill sea lions all the time because they're getting the fish. Hi,
All right, let's
doctor.
get professional. We have Dr. Enrico Gennari here.
Doctor
Hello,
Enrico.
just call me Enrico. That doctor is just fluff.
Just a fluff.
How you doing?
I'm so excited to have a doctor on the show. I had to say it a few times, but from now on, it's just
It makes us seem special. Makes us feel. It's fluff for us.
we can't even say Mr. Gennari.
Yeah, don't say Mister. That's against the law.
Yeah, no. Just call me Enrico. That's fine.
All right, Enrico.
So this is my co-host Sky Jack, and this is Enrico.
Hi, Enrico.
Nice to meet you.
I've been catching him up quickly. He remembers white sharks leaping on Shark Week and all that stuff, and everything else I've been kind of catching him up on. And he was actually surprised that they didn't start culling orcas as a result of orcas being blamed for the white shark disappearance. And I said
There were some
calls.
There were some calls for that, but fortunately it didn't go through.
Oh,
there
really?
we go.
There's
I
always
I thought they were going to kill all the orcas when they started attacking the yachts. Remember when that was going on? The orcas were, you know.
yeah. I'm sure someone thought about it, but yeah.
That
for
was
sure.
kind of overblown, wasn't it? That footage never looked that crazy to me personally.
No, but
there were few, no, there were a lot. Yeah, there were a few.
And that's a lot of damage. Yachts are expensive, and you can't mess with rich people's yachts. You can't mess with rich people's toys.
There goes
Especially
the
if you're-
orca intelligence argument. If they're messing with rich people, you know they're dumb.
Yeah, you just know they're anarchists. The sharks are anarchists. They don't care if you're. They prefer to attack. Actually, they weren't. Orcas were attacking them. The rich,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So we're going to try and transition this to. We're very fortunate because this is no one else has seen the presentation you're going to share today. Is that right?
Not online. I've been giving talks like and talking to the public here in South Africa since the problem is in South Africa, and I'll explain later. So, but yeah, and that's the first time online. I'm excited and scared at the same time. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, we have a brutal audience.
Presentations are more dangerous than sharks.
People are more dangerous than sharks. I would
Yes,
say so.
public speaking. People are more afraid of public speaking than sharks, rightly so.
Yeah,
More people die on stage than are killed by sharks every year.
I don't know that, but
Falling off stage.
Stage work
yes.
is dangerous. Don't say Macbeth in a stage. That's the whole thing.
maybe.
It's very unlucky work. People get hurt all the time on stages.
So
That's true.
I did warm the audience up, Enrico. I kind of gave them a background. I guess I'll repeat it and then kind of turn it over to you. I'll let you share your screen, or I can pull the presentation up on my end, whichever you prefer. But I was telling Sky.
share it.
You want to share it?
Yeah.
Go ahead and just look down on the bottom and look for the option to
Yeah.
share your screen, and I will happily add it.
Let's see.
Boom.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yep. And we're going to make
Okay.
that big.
Yeah, I will. But yeah, let's start. Yeah, you were saying, Skyler, then I will go in
Well, I told them
presentation.
maybe as a starter for people that don't know what's going on, it's pretty interesting that South Africa was the first country to officially protect white sharks, and they might be the first country to lose that same iconic species.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's basically my whole presentation. But yes, that's the craziness. And to me, the craziness is that it has been unfolding under our eyes in less than 15 years. So that's really, I don't know whether we're going to be able to save this population of white sharks, but as a friend of mine, Chris Fallows, that photo is his, in Falls Bay, one of the, to me, the most beautiful photo of a white shark ever, of a natural predation of a white shark. It's, Chris has been saying that even we might lose the South African population of white shark, at least we can do something about for other populations, not to repeat the same mistakes. And that's basically that glimmer of hope, of light that is behind that white shark that we're trying to reach.
Absolutely.
But
And we
yeah,
I'm
very
looking
much
for
appreciate-
some hope, Enrico. So hopefully we get a little hope out of this. I'm starving for a little light, a little glimmer of hope.
but with the
I'm
hope,
desperate- I'm
like in
desperate.
everything, when there is a problem, you need to first recognize there is a problem. You know, the AA meetings. I don't know whether you guys know, but you know, you go
Yes.
there. I'm guilty, or I have a problem. I need
Yes.
help. So the recognition of a problem is the first step to find the
first step.
solution. So, and that's the hope, that if I believe that instead, if we realize as a country that there is a problem, we can still do something about it, and that's the hope at the end of the tunnel.
Which makes
Yeah.
you want to add. I mean, might be a little bit controversial, but my God, how much damage was done via years of distraction rather than taking appropriate action?
Yeah, because remember, we have been seeing changes in the last 15 years, but obviously this comes from much further, and I'm gonna go through that. But so it's the downward trend that can be as quick as 10, 15 years. But the process, our impact, is much longer than that, yes. One thing I wanted to say, because I know that there is a lot of controversy around this, even within South Africa's scientific community, around this issue of white sharks. Is it the orcas? Is it not the orcas? Is the fishing fleet? Is it the sharks board, the nets and drum lines? Is it the population? Is it stable? Is it declining, etc.? What I just want to say at the beginning, this is not against any researcher. This is not against any specific person or research itself. This is not, because I've been accused as well, is not men against women. I'm a foreigner. This is not about foreigner versus South African, even though I've been living in South Africa for 20 years and more. This is simply an effort of reviewing all published papers, basically, and that's the summary of that paper that we published in December. All the papers and pieces of information that we could find together and really put the different pieces of the puzzle, because it's not a single research output, but it's different pieces together, try to figure out what has been happening and a way forward. I'm not definitely against the idea that orcas, killer whales, have an impact on white sharks. I have been co-authoring many papers, several papers on the impact on orcas and white sharks. I do believe orcas have an impact, and I'm going to show it in this talk as well. And also, one thing to understand this whole process, since there's been 20 plus years of research, science does not always proceed in a straight way. Sometimes there is disagreement among scientists, and sometimes we figure out a way together after. And a perfect example is actually, I did not agree with one of the co-author of the paper we published in December, Dr. Sara Andreotti. We did not agree on her first paper on white sharks, and I was part of a rebuttal of that paper. However, that does not mean that we cannot find convergence as we are doing now. And we were part of a rebuttal to a paper that claimed that the white shark population in South Africa has been stable. However, that does not mean that those researchers and us cannot find a forward path together. And that paper that we published in this presentation is really trying to point out that way forward, trying to help people to understand what has been happening in South Africa for the last 20 years for white sharks. And unfortunately, science in general does not provide the final proof, because the final proof would be, in our case, the extinction of white sharks. So we might not give final certainty. However, I believe that conservation should work on a precautionary approach, as also stated in the beautiful constitution in South Africa, as also was as I will show, the core of the protection of white sharks in 1991 by South Africa. The core
precautionary, opposed to waiting until, oh, they're extinct, here's what we did wrong.
Exactly. So in a way, unfortunately, I most likely will not convince you 100% that this is what this is situation. However, I would love to be wrong, and for a scientist it's quite difficult to say that, but I really would love that we are wrong, because that would mean that white shark will stay in South Africa forever. The problem is, what if we right and we don't do something about it? And that is the precautionary approach. Thinking about what if we right and we don't do something about it? And that is our biggest concern. So, sorry for this, a little bit of introduction, but I hope that this could give some clarity And I really would like this discussion and the focus from now on in general to be about the conservation of white shark in South Africa, not about fighting and things or even paper or PhDs or things. This is about a species that we ought to conserve in South Africa.
I appreciate that. I get it. I mean, Enrico is an extremely professional person. We're going to be professional on this show today. As we talked about on a show 2 weeks ago, Sky, there's politics in science. And
Yes,
it's almost
of course.
impossible to avoid. And science has gone to social media in the battle for political preference also. But so things are changing, and here today we have someone who's just going to present facts that I think are fascinating. He's going to tolerate me interrupting him occasionally. Because, well, I think it's good for everyone listening for us to interrupt, because we're going to need a little catch-ups here,
Yeah.
or a little better understandings of what is common knowledge to you, Enrico. But
Yeah, sure. And stop me anytime. It's.
Cool.
I would like really to be a conversation. And if you don't agree, or if you think, what about this? Please, it's not a single way discussion. It's a two-way discussion. Okay.
yeah, one of the reasons we're going live is so that people can ask questions and get clarification. So I'll be checking out comments in the side panel as well.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Are we ready?
Let's do it.
Fantastic.
Okay. So when I say, and I said it several times already, we is not is not just me, definitely. It's a group of scientists, a group of ecotourism operator, a group of conservationists within South Africa, and there's a research organization from Canada. There's universities. So is really a lot of people that had a lot to do with white sharks, and that in a way they owe so much to white sharks that decided to put all their expertise together. And again, it's not just scientists. To be a scientist, you don't need to have a PhD. That's why I said it can be fluff. But this is a lot of even normal people that have contributed significantly to white sharks conservation and research in South Africa. As we know, sharks have always had a bad rep, but here in South Africa even more. These are some of the not even very old newspaper article, 1987, of the white shark plague, shark-infested waters. South Africans have grown up with this knowledge. The ocean is a dangerous place, and since 1952, more or less, the main way to address this risk of in the water has been shark nets. Then around early 2000, they've been introducing drum lines that follow on the right, which is basically a baited hook attached to a buoy with a anchor, and both nets and drum lines are designed to catch and kill large predatory sharks. The nets have a problem with the bycatch, so unintended catches like dolphin, turtles, whales, etc. Drum lines are more selective to just large predatory sharks. However, they both designed to target and kill large sharks. So it's a way of culling, because the concept is you have less risk if you have less sharks. Simple as that.
Imagine.
Obviously it works, because if you remove all sharks in the water, there's no risk. So it works. The question is that the best way nowadays? But that's a different story. Sorry, you were saying?
Just for Sky and anyone else, imagine you're a shark and what you have been, praised for on documentaries for your incredible sense of smell and cleaning the ocean and being attracted to dead animals or dying animals. Imagine that human beings are basically tricking you into coming, and then
Right.
you're punished, for doing what you were created to do.
Right, like creating the crime and then it's entrapment, right? I mean, it's like it's like entrapment. I create the crime, and then if you do it, I'm gonna arrest you. We had a
Like
question in the
Before, no,
surf.
no, that's the difference. Is before you do the crime,
right.
because and actually when you all even because in nets, for example, a statistics is the majority of the sharks in nets are captured on the inside side of the net. So when they are about to leave, so to use your analogy, with a criminal coming ready to do a crime, it doesn't do a crime. It's actually leaving, and then when you catch it, when it stop being a threat. But yeah,
Mm.
but
Yeah,
but I mean,
you
those
didn't rob.
analogies are a bit difficult. But yes,
You didn't
Right.
rob the store, but you're leaving the store, and we want to make sure you don't rob the store next time. So we're just going to go ahead and kill you.
Because you were thinking about it. Yeah. So we're gonna shoot you on your way out. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And
So
Sky's in Southern California, and he's a surfer. I'm in Northern
yeah.
California, and I got to tell you, the idea of putting chunks of bait on hooks next to where people are swimming or surfing here still makes
Yeah.
people be like, no, that
Yeah,
can't
what are you
be that
thinking?
can't be
Right.
real. And yet in South Africa, it's just become
I mean,
normalized.
it's not just South Africa. There's
No,
Australia
no, no.
uses. There's Reunion uses. There's now recently New Caledonia trying to cull sharks. So it's not just South Africa, but
No.
South Africa was one of the first ones, and it did it maybe too well, unfortunately. And here you can see clearly this paper published in 1996 clearly show that there was this is number of white sharks is standardized for number of nets, etc. But the important thing is the number of white sharks that were caught every single year. That it was going down, and it was a problem. And this was with published in 1996 after the protection, with data before the protection. Because in the 80s and the 90s, the KwaZulu-Natal Sharks Board, KZN Shark SB, basically was killing an average of 39 white sharks every single year. That's an
Jeez.
average, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
And in
Do you
fact,
want to
that
spend a minute? Do you want to spend a minute spelling out why that's a lot? Because for human beings who slaughter creatures by the ton, that probably doesn't sound like a lot. But when you have the reproductive system of a white shark, it becomes a whole new ballgame. It's not like salmon.
or
It's not
sharks
like
in
sardines.
general.
Yeah.
Yes, or
Yeah.
sharks in general, because they reproduce very late. I mean, why, there's debate of white shark whether they can start reproducing at 20 or 40 years.
Wow.
Just start reproducing.
Amazing.
Then they give birth to only few pups per litter. The white sharks is likely every 2 years. So it's really it's not like Nemo that has got
Right.
millions of eggs out. These are an animal that has got a very low reproduction capacity, because those young are ready to be basically they're almost ready to be adults. So
Enrico,
it's a lot of energy put in that reproduction, so they can't have millions of eggs.
can you go backward a slide or two and show us the image from 2002 with look at that. It says 2002 there. Look at the size of that white shark, and imagine what it had to go through to live long enough to reach that size. And maybe that's just now the age
He's just
where it
now
can reproduce.
mating age. So they
I
you
mean,
said
is that
30 or
accurate,
40
Enrico?
years?
I think that one wasn't even mature, by the way.
Wow.
Wow.
Do people understand what a crime and a tragedy it is to wipe
So
out
how old
a
is this guy?
sexually mature white shark when that's not even a sexually mature white shark?
I can't. I think it was just under 4.5 meters, if I remember correctly. It might be wrong, plus minus. But I dissected a white shark that was caught in the nets. Part of a documentary as well, but it was. I don't want to diverge it. It was a very interesting, different kind of documentary. to learn the behavior of the sharks from the anatomy of the sharks. Anyway, starting from the anatomy. I had set a 4.3 meter female and was far from mature. That is not too much bigger than that. Consider that when they are born are around a meter, 1.2 meter, so it's less than those two people there on the left. And in several years, 10, 20 years, we still don't know exactly. That's also that in science is debated the growth rate of white sharks. But anyway,
But they're only mature at 20, 30 years, you said, that their mating age?
no, it's between 12 and 20.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
the first mature.
So, I mean, that's
Yeah,
like, yeah, like human production practically. I mean, oh my gosh. That's wild to me. I didn't know
Yeah.
that it took that long. I mean,
Yeah.
and the other point, because there are sharks that can be, to go back to this number, that can be, let's call it, harvested at that rate. There are population that can be sustainably harvested at that rate. However, not, and I'll show you later, just now why, not this population of white sharks, and I'll show you now. So anyway, stop me if otherwise I carry on. But it wasn't just about pure number. Also the average size, and I don't want to make too complicated. This graph basically says that over the years, the average size of white shark caught in the nets was getting smaller and smaller. That means that once you remove the bigger ones, the population is, since the bigger ones are fewer, the over average of the population is becoming smaller, and that is a very good proxy or hint of a population that is in trouble. The average size of the population is going down. The overall numbers are going down. This was a population that was in trouble. However, it was published only in 1996, which was after this came into place. In 1991, South Africa was the first country in the world to protect white shark. As I said, as a precautionary measure. Basically, they said, we don't know whether this species or this population is in trouble. However, because we recognize the importance from an ecological point of view, but also from an economic point of view for the country, ecotourism boomed after that. So they recognized also the value of nature, and they said we need to do something about it. So they protected the white sharks, and they told, basically in the law, they told the KwaZulu-Natal Sharks Board that they needed to find alternative measure to lethal shark control approach. So instead of killing them, they were supposed to, in 1991, to find alternative method. We are in 2026, and we're still using the same approach. So that's the problem. So, sorry, you were saying something?
I'll say, they say they're going to do something, and they still didn't do it, right? I mean, that's basically, they had a plan, and everyone applauded them for having a plan, and they didn't follow through.
Well, the trophy hunting was reduced at least.
Okay.
Exactly. So the trophy hunting is an interesting point, but before going there, they did put some effort in figuring out an alternative measure called the shark cable. Basically, the Sharks Board developed what is now called the Shark Shield, that then was bought in Australia, etc. And it works as a way to reduce the first encounter with a white shark, the probability of first encounter. They were trying to do it at a beach level, so creating a kind of electrical barrier. It's too low for people to feel it, but strong enough to keep the white sharks, especially white sharks, outside. They tested it over the years. They even tested it with my organization in the early 2010, and it was working. I, I remember they were switching on, the white shark were disappearing. They were switching off, the white shark were coming back. So it was working. That's the early 2000, and that is the part that I'm really upset about it, because the solution is there, but for some reason, maybe some commercial reason, is not used, and that really say it nicely in French, it upset me.
Yeah.
I got to elaborate on this because I've interviewed the Sharks board many times, and they make these speeches about, we're trying, we want the best for the animal and the best for humans, and we're putting all this effort into research and finding new methods. It sounds like it's empty, because according
It's
to
worse.
Enrico, they found a solution and said, "Nah." It's almost like the United States' health industry. It's like, we don't want to heal anyone. We
Yeah.
want to treat you. There's no money in healing, and there's money in maintaining these nets and continuing to keep people thinking that they need us in our nets. In fact, I got Jeremy Cliff on camera to admit that the Natal Sharks board couldn't exist or employ its people if the shark nets went away.
Look,
I mean, it makes sense. You can't make money curing cancer. You make money treating cancer, right?
Yep.
exactly. Look, we don't know the exact reason, whether it's a reason that because they want to copyright or patent the thing, or because, as you said, Skyler, it could be that there is more money because they are paid as an organization to run the nets and drum lines, so there might be more money in that. I don't know the reason why, but I know that the thing that they tested with us was working and could be developed. We have very smart engineers in South Africa. I mean, just to give you an idea, those strange boulders that I used in all the harbor of the world, they were created. The idea was done here in South Africa. So there are very capable engineers, and I cannot understand why 15 years later that device is still not used, at least for public safety. But that's a different story. I can't speculate on that. I can just state that it is a waste.
What was
Yeah.
the very first year you said earlier that the cable was tested? Like a long, long, long time ago.
They were testing in the 90s in Hansby. Yeah, so yeah,
30 years ago.
more. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Crazy.
So anyway, so this was the moment where South Africa shined around, actually shined the entire world, that really brought that light to the entire world, saying we can do something for nature even before it's lost. And it was incredible because with this data in 2000 and published in 2006 with data up to 2003, this comes from the Sharks board, by the way. So it was incredible to see that after 1991, the trajectory, we were able to bend the trajectory. We were able to start to see an improvement. The number of white sharks were slowly, I mean, small numbers, but they were slightly increasing. It was working protection. It was incredible.
And maybe
However, it
people
was-
maybe people aren't impressed if the line isn't like that, but with a species that reproduces at the rate that we just discussed, anything
massive.
In fact, just stopping the decline is pretty massive. You
Yeah.
hit the brakes and changed directions. That's huge.
And obviously, this is a simplification, those lines that I put there. But it was quite impressive how quickly the change happened, and the reason was because it was working on a number that wasn't massive. Because while the protection was working, the Sharks board kept on killing an average of 25 white sharks every single year. What it really targeted this protection was this. So people going out, normal people going out, normal fishermen for trophy hunting, for adrenaline seeking, killing white sharks. That one on the left is Mossel Bay, for example, and killing white shark for fun, for the teeth, for the jaws,
The
for
thrill of
whatever.
it. Yeah.
Exactly, but that was a small number compared to the sharks board. I mean, this guy Schumann caught 18 white sharks in more than 5 years. So we believe, and talking to Chris that kept all the newspaper article in his house, um, Chris Fallows, he reckons that we're talking about an average of maybe less than 10 white shark per year, 10, 15. So small number compared to the 25, 40. So that to me told me that it was, while it was very remarkable that bend in the trajectory, it was still a population that was really on the brink. It wasn't a safe haven from after 1991. The Sharks Board kept on killing, in fact, those animals, but was enough, that little change was enough to really bend the curve, which was really, really an interesting finding. Now, to go back, why those numbers are important, because of the number of white shark killed every year. Because we're not talking about a million white sharks in the water of Southern Africa. We're not talking about 10,000. We're not talking about 5,000. We likely were talking less than 1,000. The three main studies done at different time with different methods. So I don't want to say that this was showing a decline, but we were most likely talking a population between 500 and 1,000 individuals for Southern Africa. So
Wow.
it's very small. Now, if you remove 25, 40 white shark on a population of 500, it's almost 10% every single year. On a species that takes 20 years to reproduce, or it's impossible. You can't keep up. The species can't keep up with that rate. Even if it was 1,000, we're talking about 5% a year. Way too much. So it wasn't a large population. And what is interesting, South Africa is putting a lot of effort in terms of, rightfully, in terms of conservation of rhinos, elephants. There's more black rhinos in South Africa than white sharks, and we basically not doing. And we kept a state-funded culling organization carry on culling the species for more than 70, 80 years. That is a bit of the hypocrisy from my side that I believe.
I
You're
mean,
gonna get to-
I just looked up that like the Black Plague, the Black Death killed 10% of the human population at the height of the outbreak, and we consider that to be like
Yeah.
the worst thing that ever happened in the history of humanity,
Yeah.
right? And this
Wow.
is happening to these sharks on the regular every year almost. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Nature's
It's
so
basically you're saying
resilient. I mean,
the sharks board is the black plague of the white shark population.
That's right. Seriously, yeah. I mean, I mean, it just by numbers, it's like the Black Death for sharks.
and yet if you help nature a little bit, it responds. You know?
Exactly, and that's the interesting thing. So that nature is so incredible that can withstand most of things that we throw it. But when we throw too many things, and we'll see later, then it can't cope.
We as humans just decided that there was no breaking point because we got away with so much for so long. We're like, we can do whatever we want. And we are finally now, unfortunately in my lifetime, reaching that point where we're like, nope, nature can't take everything.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it hasn't been that long that human beings have been aware of the idea of extinction. I mean, I remember reading stuff that in the late 19th century about people arguing whether or not an animal can go extinct because they didn't believe that dinosaurs were a thing. You know, I mean, like, it hasn't been that long. We've been talking about knowing about extinction as a phenomenon, natural or otherwise.
What's beautiful in South African legislation, South Africa being a very young democracy, it became a democracy in 1994. It's got a very young constitution, and the beauty of this young constitution. I come from Italy. My one is the 40s, the 50s. But
I was
the
just even
beautiful
older. Trust me, our constitution needs an upgrade too.
But this one is incredible. And what this says, really entrenched in South African constitution, is the concept that nature does not belong to us. It actually it belongs to the future generation, which I found it very interesting. That is a very similar thing to what Native Americans, the Indians of Native Americans, used to say in one of their proverbs, that basically we don't, it's something like we don't inherit nature from our ancestor, but we borrow it from the future generations. And that is a change of mindset that unfortunately would solve a lot of the world issues if we think that we're not in charge, we just actually puppets that have responsibility toward the future generation. It would change a lot. But anyway, without going too philosophical in this,
I'm resisting.
so this is I'm not a geneticist, so I'm gonna make it very simple. This is a graph about genetic diversity. If you are on top right, very good. If you are at the bottom right, it's very bad. This is one of my colleagues, Dr. Sara Andreotti, that published this paper in 2015. With that, I think up to 2011, which clearly show that the worst place of all goes to the South African population of white shark. It was the worst among all the species that she got data of or ran analysis of. But it was even more impressive, these results, because it wasn't just against the other species, but even against other population of white sharks. I think this was the US and Australia. South African genetic diversity was really bad up to 2010 already compared to the other population of white sharks. The main culprit, obviously, as we've been saying, most likely has been the genetic erosion, so the removal of individuals every year.
Fewer maters, fewer collections of DNA in the gene pool.
Correct.
Yeah, you want to break
And-
down
and-
for people why it matters to have genetic diversity? How does
Inbreeding,
that, how does
isn't
that
it? I
affect
mean,
your
Exactly.
how does that affect your
Inbreeding,
ability to survive in the future?
Exactly. Inbreeding is a sign. So if you have only few individuals that mix with each other, obviously you're gonna have very similar genetic copies for the future generation, which could allow bad genes to come out with diseases and malformation, etc. So inbreeding is a really problematic situation or destination where a population could go toward. But also the less genetic variability. Remember, the species that survive is not the most the strongest or the most adapted, but the one that are easy to adapt to changes. Since we have very little genetic diversity, it means that any future or further pressure could be dramatic for a population that has got very little genetic diversity. So it was already bad in 2010 from the genetic of the population of South African white sharks.
So to be
Did I
dark,
explain it? Okay.
no, you did an excellent job. And here's the dark side of it. If South Africa suddenly did all the right things and stopped coaling on the Durban coast and stopped the demersal shark fishery, the changes in the planet and the challenges that the species will face still might be too much for it because it doesn't have the genetic diversity that would have allowed it to react to those changes in a successful manner.
However, the beauty of nature that if we allow it, it is actually so resilient to come back.
Yeah.
We've seen in dolphin. I was at a conservation workshop because I also work on humpback dolphin, which is the most endangered species of dolphin in the Indian Ocean. And we were looking at a population. I think it was in Taiwan, I think. And he had that incredible high level of inbreeding, and yet where the population was okay, was able to cope with that. So if we allow nature to do nature, it's gonna be all right. It's when we start interfering too much that is the problem.
Especially when the interfering means killing them. I mean, this reminds me of
That's the biggest.
100
one.
years ago. They left a bunch of buffalo, American bison, on the island of Catalina, and they just left them to die, and they didn't die, but they started having inbreeding problems. So now they have, because there's other herds around America, they actually have kind of an exchange system now, so that they can bring in biodiversity, the diversity of DNA, with genetic diversity, that is. And
Yeah.
but really, in this case, we just need to stop killing them. Could you do that, though, theoretically? Could you capture a great white from, say, the coast of the United States and bring that alive shark down to South Africa? Would they play nice?
You have
It
to stop.
sounds
It.
like
You have to
crazy.
stop it. You have to stop at capture and it remaining alive.
Yeah, I doubt
Okay.
We haven't even-
It sounds a crazy idea, right?
Yeah.
Actually, there was a White Shark Global Conference Symposium where actually I raised that because I realized that we're running out of options. So it technically is possible. You don't need to bring the whole white shark. You need to collect just the sperm from that animal and
Oh,
then bring them, for example, this side, and then have capture a large adult female that pose. And I know, Skyler, me and you, on terms of catching for research, and we might not agree, but it technically is possible. It raises so many issues in terms of an ethical point of view.
Of course. I was just wondering
I-
if that's even on the table, right? Because
No,
we
everything is on the table. I think.
do stuff
but-
like that with other animals. Like we,
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to start treating white sharks the way we treat dairy cattle and dogs.
I mean, is it that the likely future? I mean, I know the.
I don't-
I mean,
Okay.
ethically, I find it to be a minefield. But at the same time, this seems like that's what we do as humans. We wait until they're almost dead, and then we do this last Hail Mary to try to bring them back, like it did with the California condor. And then we always have a population. We have a population subset that's in captivity, so that we can have a breeding program, and then we
Right.
try to bring them back. That's the status quo, isn't it?
Sure. However, in this case that you mentioned, the main issue is not actually the genetic diversity, it's the fact that we're killing and the population is going
Right.
down. So, first step,
Stop
let's-
killing them. Yeah. Okay. I like
Let's-
that.
It seems like a very
Then
traumatic
I can sit on
situation
the
to try and
table
get
with.
pregnant.
I
Yeah.
can sit at the table even with Isaac Asimov and come up with some crazy
Yes,
idea.
Agreed.
But it won't do anything if we keep on killing them. That's basically the bottom line. So
Yeah.
at the moment, it's not on the table.
Got it.
Yeah.
Until
Very
there's
interesting
five
idea,
left.
but-
Until there's 5 left, then we're gonna do it, right? I think because isn't that always what it is? There's 5 left. Let's import some. Isn't that what we did with the wolves? I mean, I don't know. It seems like
I know, but yeah, it won't do anything. Even if you put all the money to do that, because it's a lot of
of course.
permits, a lot of logistics and issues left, right, and center. But you still kill them at a rate that is not sustainable. So even the female that you give those sperms from another population, if it dies the next year, it will be just wasted of money. So we need to deal with the first issue, and then we move forward to the next one. One problem at a time.
Yes, one problem at a time. Let's carry what's right in front of us. Let's take care of that. Stop killing sharks.
And again, already not everyone acknowledged that that is a problem. So that's the issue of South Africa. If we all agreed that there was a problem, I'm sure there was a solution already happening. But not everyone is
we
acknowledging.
need to continue with your presentation, but you just
Yeah.
brought up something that I've been biting my tongue on, the precautionary approach. And it's just like, why would any scientists who proclaim that their desire is to protect the animals not be on board with a precautionary approach? Because I've seen this not just in South Africa, but other places. Scientists who are actually exploiting the animals don't want precautionary protection because it would in fact limit what they can do to the animals.
And each one minds is different, and I think, like any jobs, there are good guys, good
Skip
people,
it.
and
pull
less
back
good
my
people.
statement.
Yeah, but no, what I mean is, it's true that if we adopt a precautionary approach and we put a lot of effort, let's make it a simple thing. We stop the shark's board from killing, but then there is a bite and someone dies.
Right.
It's there is the fear, the political chip that needed to be played almost blindly to
Yeah.
stop the shark's board, for example, killing white sharks. It might be too high for any politician because they think in 3-4 years thing, and that is the issue. So some scientists might say, can I put myself at risk scientifically because I push forward something that I'm not sure about it.
So,
And-
but the flip side of that is that humans are willing to embrace precautionary murder or slaughter,
Right.
because it's like, oh well, this could happen, therefore keep everything at an extinction level. Like there was this guy in the East Coast of the United States when we had the first fatality from a white shark bite in like 80 years, and immediately they're like, we got a cull.
We got to
And of
call
course,
them.
fortunately, it was resisted. But you see how quickly politicians are ready to jump on the fear campaign. It's like,
Also,
damn
The problem
animals
is
came
that-
back from extinction.
Well, we're really good at killing. So, like killing and bombing, if there's any inkling that something bad is going on or might happen, we'll just go ahead and do killing and bombing. We're always ready for that.
Are you
things
referring to the present situation?
No, I mean just in South Africa. I figured I
Look. I think
if it can be
without
solved
going-
with killing and bombing, we're all for it.
I think, it's a bit more complex because at the moment the status quo is the sharks board is working the approach because the population are lowered, therefore there's less risk of a bite. It's simple math. So it's working. So if it was the other way around, we didn't have, and do we need to introduce, like you said in the case of California, it would be a bit more risky to introduce that. But at the moment, the risk is changing. That is the risk. And that's why maybe some scientists see it as also on their own career or something, or reputability as well. And I'm not trying to defend them. I'm trying to say that it's a complex issue. In my case, it's not that complex because I don't have any stake in terms of my career in things. Actually, most likely my career is going down because of this, so it's fine. But there is a bit more complex from a political point of view, from a scientific point of view. I don't think it's enough to justify the risk of losing the population, but that is a personal choice. What is enough? And that's not a specific. It's not a scientific measure. What is enough? Unfortunately, it's a personal choice. Anyway, so let's go back to this, if you don't mind. So this is a thesis done in False Bay in Cape Town, where it shows that there were. Don't worry about the first year, but these are number of shark encounter per hour. Basically, there was in 2005, 2006, there was a quite high number, and then after 2006, the number went quite low. Something could have happened there, and this was later. This kind of thought was later improved by this graph that was presented a expert panel called by the minister, where clear the top part is the False Bay, Cape Town side, and as you can see, the population was growing up to 2006. The numbers were increasing up to 2006, and then it entered into something that is almost a stable situation.
Plateau.
Sorry?
I said, oh, it just said a plateau.
Yes, a plateau, exactly. And then around 2015, it started to go down. Below is Hansby, where Skyler spent a lot of time. The number was a bit delayed, so the number were kept on increasing up to 2011-12, plateau again, and then the drop 2014, actually earlier than in False Bay, which quite is interesting on that side. But what is clear, the population, as we saw before, was increasing. Something has happened around 2006, and something else has happened around 2015, 2016. So let's keep these two dates in mind.
Okay, 06 and 16. It's between 10 years. Something happened over the course of 10 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Two things happened.
So now
Two
we're
things.
now
One,
we're detectives. We got to figure out what went down.
exactly. That's what we need to be doing in science, putting all these pieces together and then be kind of Sherlock Holmes. Anyway, the situation is crazy now because False Bay, Cape Town does not have any white shark. Hansby, same thing. Mossel Bay has got few coming and going. Plettenberg Bay is going down. The only Cape Four Seal colony left in South Africa is here in Algoa Bay, Port Elizabeth. Now, these numbers, as you can see, started in False Bay, then in Hansby, then in Mossel Bay. So a group of scientists have been calling this as a shift eastward. But the problem with the shift eastward is when you call it a shift of a population, it means you have a number in the population before that you find now more eastward later, the same number. So if it is a population that is shifting, the population should be stable and there shouldn't be too much of an issue from a population point of view. There could be other issues because even the seal colony that I mentioned before, which is the last seal colony in South Africa, available to white shark, even there the numbers are going down. So even if it is a eastward shift, there could be also some problems because, as we know, the white shark up to more or less 4 meters, which is in feet is 12 feet, they rely mostly on fish and smaller sharks, but then they need bigger, more nutritious meals like seals, for example. So if they all moved to that side and the number are going down even on the last island, we could have a problem for the larger white sharks, but that's a different story. However, when we look also at the sharks board data, over the decades, the number of white sharks have also going down in that area there further east. So while you have the white shark that are shifting eastward from the west, they are also shifting west from the east. So in a way, it's not just a simple shift, but it's actually what we believe is a population is going down and is collapsing and becoming less and less at the edges of its distribution toward the center of its distribution. And that's what is called an edge effect. So what we believe, and we'll show the numbers, is that the population is going down and they are spending less and less time toward the edge of the distribution and more toward the core. And we'll see later why this area is most likely the main area left for white shark in South Africa. So, because we still don't know the population size of South African white shark, there is a PhD student doing that, but we still don't know the number. What we did in 2022, we teamed with a Canadian researcher from the Department of Fisheries in Canada, which basically ran a simulation model where she said, okay, we know the number of mortalities by the sharks board, for example, over the years, and we know this population, the basic biology of this population, how many pups that they can reproduce, they can provide, when they reproduce, how often, etc. So let's run a simulation model where we consider that everything else doesn't exist, only the sharks board numbers are impacting the white shark population. Obviously, no poaching, there's no foreign fleets outside South African territorial waters, etc. But let's focus only on what we know. And the main point of this paper, there were many more, but the main point was that we identified a threshold for removal, so for number of white sharks that can be killed every year to start a decline in the population. And that threshold was identified at 40. So 40 white sharks per year is what can start the decline on the population of South African white sharks. Is it clear? Any question?
I think we got it.
Okay. So keep in mind 40 white shark per year.
40 per year. That's a big number.
Exactly. So again, on a population of between 500 and 1,000 is big
Yeah.
number.
I'm gonna,
So-
I'm gonna let's
Yeah.
take a quick break to acknowledge some comments because I did advertise that
Yeah.
we would see, and I gotta tell you, Enrico, to my embarrassment, I didn't know that the seal colonies were gone.
Yeah.
Holy shit! I didn't know the seal colonies were gone too.
Well, is it that's why they say large fish will be out of our oceans by 2048? I mean, this is a number I hear all the time. 2048, 2048, all the large fish will be gone because we're killing their food. I mean, isn't that another issue? Okay, we're killing sharks, but we're also killing all their food.
As well, that's I mean that one, I think the stats was about 2040, 2050 or something, 2048. There will be more plastic than fish. I
More
don't think they
plastic
will
than
be all
fish.
gone, but yeah, it's definitely we need the precautionary approach on many more species. But yes, so Skyler, what's the from the public? Throw some comments.
Well, we've got. All right, welcome an honest doubter from my regular show. Good to see you. And then this guy, say the name for me, Skyjack.
Which one?
Tassard. 70%,
Tassard,
75% of the insects in the Netherlands are gone extinct in the last 40 years. 75% in 40 years. That's crazy. But I think the takeaway is that human beings in their limited mindset probably think that's a good thing. Oh, good. I don't deal with insects anymore. It's very bad. It's extremely bad, people.
For a country that rely a lot on flowers, but anyway.
That's a great point. Great point. And a lot of people were asking earlier if you're South African. Enrico is Italian. And
The accent
actually,
that says it.
yeah. And, I've gone to South Africa to make films, and I'm American. And one of the scientists on the opposing view of this is English, but working in South Africa. And then we've got Bolby, who is Canadian.
There's Neil Hammerschlag was South Africa
American.
born, now is in Canada. There's a couple of South African. There's a few Americans. I mean, I don't mind. As long as you do work in South Africa, you have the permits. I don't mind where you're coming from if you bring knowledge and help. Yeah, that's. But I've been in South Africa for 25 years. My daughter is South African, so yeah, I almost as South African. Besides the accent, almost as South African.
China has 2 whale sharks in an aquarium. Well, I hate to break it to you, but Georgia has whale sharks in an aquarium.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could put a whale shark in an aquarium.
Well, you shouldn't.
Big
You
enough.
shouldn't put any animal in an aquarium. I mean,
Well, wait. No, aquarium also, they have, okay, I don't want to go too much on the tangent, but aquarium have got also an educational thing, aim. For example, and zoos as well, even though I don't like how they were done. My love for animals came from actually because in Rome, where I grew up, I was able to go to a zoo. So anyway, but I'm not just justifying, but I'm saying.
yeah, I get that, and it depends on the zoo, and I mean, there's a very big difference between a roadside zoo in the middle of rural Virginia and the San Diego Wild Animal Park, right? There's a world of difference there, but at the same time, I've been to Rome and I've seen that zoo, and they have an amazing natural history museum in Rome as well. There's lots of ways to educate people about animals,
Sure.
and I don't know. I wish our relation. You're absolutely right. Like I worked for PETA, and sometimes they rescue animals, and if depending on the animal, where are you going to put that animal? You can't release them into the wild, so you just try to get them to a decent zoo, which is, I mean, I wish that was the case, right? Wouldn't it be amazing if zoos were rescues instead of breeding animals?
There's more and more. Look, there's more and more of that. For example, a lot of shark species now they're doing what we said about before about white sharks with the recolorization. So they breed them in an aquarium and then reintroduce them in the wild. So
Yeah.
fortunately, they are changing as well. Some faster than others. Others are putting a lot of money and resources into education. A lot of them are putting money and resources into research and conservation. Like in everything, there's good and bad.
Totally. And I think we could have it both ways is my point, right? We could have zoos that rescue animals, zoos that help animals in the wild. We could have aquariums that do the same thing. I mean, there's lots of talk about trying to move even SeaWorld to more rescue and less entertainment, you know?
Entertainment. Yeah.
Yeah, and no breeding. That's the big thing. When you're breeding animals in captivity in order to keep them in captivity and do dolphin shows, I feel like we've lost the plot. You know what I mean?
No, and that's a very worth it opinion, and I can agree with that too. So as long as we don't paint everything,
With the same brush. Yeah.
or
I
yeah,
agree. You're right. There's more nuance to it. I just wish that we weren't putting whale sharks into aquariums in order to sell tickets. You know what I mean?
no, that I can agree definitely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Okay,
save
so
my
let's
response.
go.
What's
Sorry?
that? For the sake of time. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's go.
Continue with the presentation.
Okay, sorry. So let's go doing that investigatory work. So in 2022, we identified 3 main threats in this paper, 3 main threats that were impacting or potentially impacting white sharks. The regional population of white sharks, so the Southern African white shark population. Obviously was in order of chronological order, the KwaZulu-Natal Sharks Board going from the 1950s. The DSL, the demersal shark longline, is a fishery that aims to target smaller shark species. They wipe out a lot of the prey of the white shark and they can catch white sharks. That was going on from early 2000 onwards. And then the orcas that came into the picture, and we started to see the effect from 2016 onwards. Now, to point it out, we overlapped the distribution of white sharks with the distribution of those threats. And the one that really came at the top in terms of overlap, both spatial and temporal overlap, was the demersal shark longline. This is a South African permitted fishery, similar to the shark's board that is a South African permitted fishery, because that's what it is. They fish to kill, to remove sharks. So the DSL is at the highest special temporal overlap. Now let's look at each of these threats. So the killer whale and white shark is a relationship that has not started happening only in South Africa. As this clash of the titan has been happening for a long time, also in other parts of the world. This paper by Sal Jorgensen in California published 57 recorded occasions of interaction between orcas, killer whales, and white shark between 1987 and 2013. Same has been happening in Mexico, same in South Australia, New Zealand. In South Africa, it's happening at a frequency. We see those orcas in shore, in areas where the white shark happen, more frequently than in other areas. And also in South Africa, the two famous orcas, port and starboard, that have been really targeting many shark species, including the white shark, at a frequency higher than in the other areas. So is expected that the impact of orcas in South Africa could be higher in the other areas, but it's not something new. And most importantly, is nature, and nature hardly ever is out of balance by itself. That's very important. But orcas do have an impact, and in fact, we published together with Dr. Alison Towner. Alison published this paper, a co-author. I provided some data. We published this paper. We clearly show the immediate drop of the white shark presence and in those black dots, and the appearance of bronze whaler shark, those blue dots, happening at the same time, where the number of orcas passage and the number of that you can see on top and the number of white sharks killed started to becoming more frequent. So that is a very interesting, from a predator-prey relationship. Is not just the direct predation, but is the fear of predation. Is what in ecology is called the ecology of fear. So the animal responds also to the fear of being predated.
That makes perfect sense. Like when they put wolves back into areas where wolves have gone extinct, and they reintroduce wolves, beaver populations increase because they figure out where to go better. Like they move because they're afraid of predation. It's fascinating. It helps other animals grow because of that. It moves them to different areas.
It's interesting in that case of the introduction. Usually the animal, because the wolf were absent at the beginning, they got nailed, and then they start to adapt. And most likely that's what happened with the white shark in Ansbach as well.
Yes.
They weren't used to this, especially those two killer whale, which is interesting by itself as well, because they start splitting those two. They used to be seen a lot together. Then they started to be seen more isolated with other groups, and then they start to pass the information, the knowledge that they have acquired together to the other groups. Now many more than just port and starboard have been killing white shark, which is a fascinating thing in terms of also cultural transmission in marine mammals. But again, let's stay on this thing. The orcas have an impact, clearly, and it's similar to what happened to lions in a savanna. The lions pass in an area, kill an hyena, the hyenas move away. Then the lions carry on in their movement because they're not there all the time. Then the hyenas come back. So the question to me is not whether the orcas have an impact or not, or whether they killed the white shark. The question is why the white sharks are not coming back in this case. So it's not that they're leaving. That's we know. We've seen in other areas. But in all the other areas, they always come back. So obviously the frequency of the pressure is an important thing. But there is also something behind, and I'll show you later, that is also driving that disappearance
Is it
or
because
co-driving.
they're driven someplace else and they die there? Wherever they're going, they die. They get killed.
Could be there, or they found a place where there's more food, there's less
Oh,
threats. So animals have to adapt. So, but yeah, let's see further. So anyway, the reduction in False Bay and in Ansbay, as I showed you before, started a bit earlier than 2016, 2017. So while the orcas do have an impact, an effect cannot happen. A cause cannot happen after its effect. So the population of white shark was already slowly declining in Ansbay as well, and then it dropped completely to 20 in 2017. So there is something else on top of the orcas. On top, I'm not saying the orcas don't have an impact, but on top of that. Okay, so let's look at the demersal shark longline. This is a topic that I've been working for 15 years, so I could say a lot. So
15
please
years.
keep me in line with this topic. So the demersal shark longline targets mainly two main species. One is this one, the smooth down sharks. Targets also the top shark, but the main one is the smooth down sharks. Also, I think is gummy shark in Australia called. Now, this is shows the effort in terms of catches of smooth down sharks over the years, and in orange is the one of the demersal shark longline. And as you can see, the orange really increased in the sorry, before doing that, this does not benefit South Africa in any way. All the meat is exported mostly to Brazil and Australia. In Australia, they use it for fish and chips. So it doesn't have, to South Africa, it doesn't contribute much, beside employing maybe 20 people. Anyway, so the effort of this fishery really picked up, increased around the year 2005. Remember what we said at the beginning? Something must have changed around 2005, 2006. And this is what I think has changed on top of the sharks board. This fishery has started really going out effectively and to catch those smaller sharks. This fishery has got a very bad fishery. Beside the fact that their main target species, the smoothhound and the subfin, are assessed by the South African government as endangered and critically endangered, and in 2026 they're still allowed to be caught commercially. This fishery have a bad record. There's a whistleblower that came out that basically they said that we have been tracking this fishery using Global Fishing Watch and etc. They fish inside marine protected areas. They killed birds because they don't use really what is supposed to be used is called as bird tory lines. They kill any bycatch. They just, if they have a smaller shark that they're caught that they don't want to keep it, instead of removing the shark and throw it away and let it live, they just cut the heads because it's easy. It can be bait. There's very little control at the harbor. Basically, the government trusts this fishery, whatever data they say they get. So data at best is inaccurate for management decision. But that is a completely different story. So let's stick to the white shark. Why I'm talking to this one? Let me introduce this guy. I think Skyler might know. Brian McFarlane. Brian McFarlane was a shark hunter, a white shark hunter. And then I realized, obviously for a business perspective, that he could have made much more money to become an ecotourism operator. So he became a white shark cage diving operator when it started to be allowed. And this was a photo during a documentary. But during this documentary, I asked Brian, I said, what is the best bait that you guys use to catch a white shark? And I was expecting, a seal, a dolphin, maybe a pig. I don't know at that time what they used to use. They could use everything. A whale, obviously. And he said, no, the best bait to catch a white shark is on a line is a live smooth down sharks by far. It's a small shark that moves, that struggles, and that is a white shark cannot resist.
You guys, hold on. That's
It's crazy.
that you just we can't just move past that. That's amazing because I am guilty. I'm guilty of probably saying the best attractant for a white shark is whale meat, followed by marine mammal meat.
That's what I
And
thought.
here's somebody saying no. It's these smaller sharks which are being targeted by the South African permits by these demersal shark longlining
Yeah.
businesses. And
Look-
I put out 2 years ago a video when you were you've been on this for, as you said, 15 years, and I was like, common sense, people, you're wiping out the food supply of the younger white sharks, and the method that you're using to wipe out the food supply also catches white sharks on top of that.
Yeah,
But for
it's a
but
double
for the
whammy.
smooth
isn't it?
hound, for the smooth hound to be a better bait than whale meat and seal meat is really something.
Think about it, because a whale meat, it's, and I asked him that, and we had a discussion. I mean, whale, first of all, a dead whale doesn't happen often. Second, you can't hear the whale from afar until you get the slick coming at you, and you need to swim anyway. A smooth-down shark, a live smooth-down shark, it's really struggle on that line. So the sharks have this lateral line. They sense the vibration in the water. They have actually good hearing as well. So they hear basically a dinner bell. And when he's on the line, it's very easy. There's no really competition. Conversely to a whale, there could be several white sharks around, etc. And so it's like I don't want to say any label, but it's like a fast food that is easy, accessible. Might not be the best one, but is easier for you to catch when you're driving somewhere. I don't know whether the analogy works, but yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, the availability.
Yeah. The availability, the easeability, how easy it is, basically,
Yeah.
to catch. And again, that sound, the struggling prey. So, and, you know, those
Similar to the
sharks
methods
can
being.
be 1.5 meter in length. So it's not just a snack.
I'm sorry, I
Right.
can't resist that struggling, similar to the protection methods being used by the Natal Shark Sport. Struggling dying animals inside of nets and on a drum line, which you're supposed to
That
feel safe.
opens a different issue there, because yes, could the white shark be attracted by another shark that has been caught? Yes, but again, that is the aim. The aim is to target white sharks, so yeah, that's why it works. Anyway, so, and I'm glad that you said, because what these graphs and these two studies, one in South Africa and one in Australia, clearly showed that white sharks is a big word, because there's different life stages, and juvenile white shark less than 4 meters, so sub-adults, and from neonate to sub-adults, definitely don't go for large mammals, which takes experience to get, but they go for the majority are elasmobranchs, so other sharks in blue, and teleost, or bony fish. So more than 70% of their diet is based on sharks and fish. Only 30% is marine mammals. So they, especially juvenile, which again, and I know, Skyler, you said it several times in your podcast, the majority of the white shark that were found in South Africa in the old days used to be juvenile and sub-adult white shark. Hardly ever we saw 4.5 meter, 5 meters. Mostly were 3.5 and under. So those sharks really rely heavily, or used to rely heavily, on smaller sharks and fish. So these fishery that target the same sharks and fish can be a problem. Plus, as I said, these fisheries got the highest spatial temporal overlap with the white shark. So in terms of probability, it's got the highest chance of encountering a white shark than the other threats. And when they going out, they leave those big, these are big smooth-down sharks, on the line, sometimes for half an hour, that it can't go anywhere. And that is it's something irresistible for a white shark, according to Brian McFarlane, among others. So is it really crazy to expect that this fishery could catch a white shark, like you said, Skyler? However, the Department of Forestry, Fishery and Environment, which is the department of the South African government working on fisheries, claims that this fishery, and claims because the fishery claims, because there's no observer on these boats, so they trust what the fishery says, and the fishery says that there has been 0 catches of white sharks by this fishery since 2000, since this fishery has existed. Now, this photo can already tell you a difference. So in that paper, I try to even say at least this photo, there is at least one white shark, but there's a different story. But we also, as I told you, there's been a whistleblower that came out. Funny enough, this whistleblower was called by the fishery to change the public image of this fishery. And he went on one of these boats, one boat only, for 9 weeks. And he was so traumatized from what he saw that basically he had to get out. He had issues afterwards. So he said it was the worst that he has ever seen, ever. So this guy says that when he was on one boat, in 9 weeks, they killed 3 white sharks. Okay, so very simple math. It would equate to 1 white shark every 3 weeks. Now, that could sound a lot, right, for a boat.
I mean, it's 20 a year, right? If it's 52 weeks, it's almost 20 a year.
Okay, and exactly that's what I did after. But let's stick to that one. It sounds a lot. So can we trust this question? Fortunately, we were told by one government official,
150.
unfortunately, that government official never, and the government itself never publicly acknowledged that. But no, it was in one paper that they published. So again, I cannot be sued for this. That they did a test for this fishery to see the impact of this fishery on the white shark. Already that you, as a scientist, think that there could be an impact, it should already raise an alarm bell. There should be an impact if you think there could be. But let's say that you want to be completely unbiased and you say, okay, we want to try. We use the same method, the same gear, and we see how many white shark we catch. Now, usually to do a proper assessment, you need to go for months, etc. They did 1 day. Now, sample size equal 1. Any scientist would tell you you cannot trust it. But if that sample size equal 1 tells you something very strong, you should trust it, or at least you should consider it.
Yeah.
So what they did 1 day in Port Elizabeth, they caught 2 white sharks and they killed 1. This is the government scientists. They caught 2 white sharks and they killed 1 in 1 day.
Wow.
If you extrapolate that to 3 weeks, it would mean 10 white sharks every 3 weeks. More than 10 white sharks every 3 weeks.
Enrico,
So
can
obviously,
I ask you
I'm
about-
not gonna say that this should be the statistics that we should use, but that tells me that the whistleblower number is not out of the imagination. Is actually quite conservative, or could be quite conservative. and that's the exactly number that I used. And as Skyler said, this fishery has a double whammy effect on white sharks.
Yeah.
It depletes all the prey of the white shark of the juvenile white sharks, plus is able and does kill directly white sharks. So, in order of
What happened to
magnitude,
the other, Enrico? What
yeah,
happened to the other white shark that was caught? Are we supposed to assume that it survived
the,
after being caught and released?
it was released. Look, and I do for research. I do catch white shark to tag them. I know we don't agree on that, but white shark are very strong, resistant to it's called capture stress. Let's call it like that. They're very strong. Some of the other researchers they even fought a white shark for 3 hours, and the shark was released and pinged for many years. Even when they're very tired, they are able to, and because we put some cameras on the white shark, and they usually go down to the bottom, swim very slowly at the bottom. Why they swim at the bottom? Because their belly is protected in that way, so they don't need to be worried about other predator or other white shark. They swim a little bit to the bottom for a few hours, and then they move. Obviously, they leave the area, but they're very resistant and resilient. So I tend to believe that they released the one, and that survived.
So they can take abuse. Therefore, humans
Yeah.
interpret
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
as we should abuse them.
Carte blanche. Yeah.
Very good. I mean, a paper that I collaborate with the scientists in the US shows actually very little changes in stress physiology from the blood that was collected during the process. Is compared to other shark species like an hammerhead. Most of the hammerheads cannot withstand more than 10-15 minutes on the line. They basically die. Other species of shark they're really prone to stress. White sharks, tiger sharks, those animals are really good at fighting stress, are really resilient to come back to even a very stressful event like catching.
I got to
If
point
you
out.
give them the chance.
I got to point out Oliver's trauma and the carnage that he witnessed, and this carnage is being put on.
Oliver is the whistleblower.
Yes, yes, and he
Oliver,
witnessed
good.
what's taken. And I've interviewed other people who've worked on fishing vessels before, and they see some terrible, terrible, terrible stuff. And it's interesting that we as human beings decide, we compartmentalize that it becomes unacceptable when a certain species gets caught up in the middle of what everything else is going through. We don't need to spend much time on that, but I would like people to digest that for a little bit as we continue with the presentation.
Obviously, we as a species can have the whole spectrum in that sensibility. There's some people that are really traumatized, and other people that don't give a damn. But yeah,
Or they seem like they don't give a damn, and they go home and they beat their wives. I mean, these are things that, like, this is something that, like, honestly, I mean, we see this in lots of these trades where people are doing things that are against human nature, whether they be working at prisons or if they work in slaughterhouses, and they seem like they're okay, but they've got a high rate of addiction problems, a high rate of spousal abuse, domestic violence. I mean, they seem like they're okay and they don't care, but
I got to tell you, Sky, I thought about slaughterhouses when I thought about the trauma, because there are studies about what
Yeah.
happens to people mentally that work in slaughterhouses, and you have the people that work on these fishing vessels. And what do you do?
I mean,
What do you do? You resort to wearing a shark's head on your
yeah.
face or a pig's head
You see
on your
military
face because
boredom
you're-
too, like with Abu Ghraib. I mean, this is like,
exactly. I was about to say PST. No, what's it called? Post-traumatic
PTSD.
stress disorder. Yeah, that one.
PTSD.
It's across a range of activities. Is from war to genocides to
Yeah.
slaughterhouses to anything where humans is is a prevaricator against another human or another animal, that can impact that human, as you said, not right in that moment, but can have a definitely long-term impact on that human for the
100%.
years. Yeah, and it's the concept of human being at the apex of everything. So, but
Well,
yeah.
exactly. That's contradictory. Like, if that's what our true nature is, then you shouldn't be suffering post-traumatic stress.
But
issues
because
from
that
it.
is not our true nature. That's
No.
how we.
Look at my
But yeah,
teeth.
we
You know,
going.
Well, it's not your
That's
true
not a white
nature to be
shark's teeth.
slitting throats all day. I mean, you slit throats for 8 hours a day. You're not going to feel okay at the end. It's going to, even if you
And you
think
know
you're
what's
feeling okay.
you know what's more convenient about fish? You can't hear them screaming.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's true. But they
Yeah.
still, they see horrible stuff. We've all seen the footage. I mean, it's,
Sure.
Yeah. So
All right,
okay,
back to the
going back
presentation.
to the threats. What? Okay, these are just the number of white shark that we know have been killed by orcas in 8 years. Again, that is not all. These are the number of carcasses or that we have footage of, so carcasses that reach the beach. So this is an underestimation, that's for sure. Plus, on top of this, again, there is the fear of predation. But let's go with this number, and I'm gonna give the right weight to the orcas just now. But let's just use this number. In 8 years, from 2016 to 2024, I think between 8 and 12 white shark more or less have been killed by orcas. The Sharks Board, since 1952, an average between 20 and 40 white shark per year killed. And what I did, I used the whistleblower number, and I said, what if they fish 2 weeks of the month? What if they fish 10 months of the year instead of 12? So I try to be conservative. Plus, I said, how many, and I asked the government the data on how many fishing permits like this they gave, and I calculated year by year the potential number of each boat could have killed in that year and multiplied by the number of vessels of that year, and I started to have numbers year by year. Again, this is an estimation that potentially can be killed by this fishery, and it is between 10 and 40. Now the number is a bit wide because obviously it's an estimation, so the certainty is not that for sure, but since 2005, between 10 and 40 white shark could have been killed by this fishery alone. Now if you put it very simply, and maybe too simply, this is what the number of white shark that have been killed by the three main threats every single year on average. Okay? What is important on this one is not too much the exact number of the orcas, but the two permitted activities permitted by the South African government can have an average of 45 white shark killed per year for the last 20 years. Do you remember what was that threshold that we said before? The number of white shark to start a decline? Do you remember?
2006.
No, number of white shark that can be killed per year before
40?
the decline starts. 40.
Yeah.
So these two by itself, they are above that threshold.
Yeah.
Now, the orcas is most likely not one. Is one a year. Is maybe two. Is maybe three. Even 10 a year. So because plus the impact of fear. However, the bigger the impact we believe the orcas have on the white shark, the more urgent is that we deal with the other two threats that are under the permit of the South African government. Because this number, if it increases by increasing the orcas, it means that the total number is even higher, and therefore it pushes more certainly the white shark population down. So the higher we believe the impact of the orcas, the more we need to fight the other two threats or change the other two threats.
Enrico, I'm sorry, but that's such a good point because I mean, imagine what we as humans are saying. It's like, hey, orcas, we can't tolerate what you're doing because look what we're doing. That's only for us. Only we can do that, and you can't kill anything at all. Otherwise, you're not allowed as an actual predator to have an impact of this sort. And also, I was wondering if you could speak on for a moment the fact that even in some of those shots that you showed of the white sharks being preyed upon in South Africa, that's not port and starboard every time. So are we supposed to conclude that now all orcas are going to wipe out white sharks, or what are we supposed to take from that?
That maybe not the all orcas are going to wipe out, but many more orcas than before are able to now target white sharks. So, and again, that's the point. It's a cumulative impact. That pie there, that graph, that pie graph, is basically the impact on the white shark. The bigger that green, the orcas, is, the more urgent that we deal with what we are responsible for. Nature, we're not responsible for, and we shouldn't do anything about it because usually it works in balance. When we add our issues to the natural natural events, that is when things goes out of balance. So I am in full support that orcas impact is higher than that one single white shark a year killed. But the more we believe the number is bigger, the higher, the more we should run to really deal with what we are responsible for. And that is where I believe that there can be convergence, even with the other scientists that in the past we might have not completely agree on, but starting to put all these pieces of information together really shows that we should focus on what we're responsible for, and even more if the impact of orcas are higher.
This is
And
astonishing.
I really hope that I made the point clear that the orcas have an impact, but we should deal with what we are responsible for.
Well, look at this. Look at this graphic. Think about how much more the orcas need to use up before it compares to either of the other two anthropomorphic effects. And yet the orcas do anything at all, and all of a sudden it has the human attention. Everything else has been ignored. But as soon as nature does something, and by the way, to think that the first time that humans witnessed orcas doing it is the first time it's happened in the history of nature is pretty freaking stupid.
They're not doing it for profit, so those orcas, they're anarchists.
Yeah, unless you're doing it for a profit, it's not.
Look, I have to say the port and starboard were seen in South Africa before, but they didn't show. I mean, Chris Fallows have been telling me that he was on the boat, on cage diving boat, where really 100 meters from the boat, an orcas killed. I think was a common dolphin, and the white shark didn't even bother. Yeah. So it is possible that port and starboard, and then the bigger group, really targeting white shark or sharks in general is something more recent. That is something I believe. For example, there is a clear correlation of the common dolphin moving inshore and the orcas coming inshore. So, but again, and Ellison actually made it very clear, very well put in one of her papers, that is actually telling us that nature is doing that because we messed up the offshore. So with the sardines going down, the common dolphin had to move more inshore, and then the predator had to follow. So it's still, even the orcas is actually us. Not directly, but it's still us that we're responsible for that. So it's a problem. Obviously, we dealing with offshore is much more complicated than dealing with a fishery, a coastal fishery, and the nets and drum lines.
But
In my opinion.
it's an oversimplification to say that orcas being present means white sharks have to leave. It's not 100%. It's not always
No,
that case.
no. And there are cases around the world that show that exactly. But obviously, orcas that have been targeting white shark have started learning, like the wolves. When the wolves were introduced, the elk didn't really respond, and they were slaughtered, and then they start to learn, and then they start to move. So there is a slow process, usually over many years, that it happen at population level. But yeah, we have been seeing it in South Africa. So, okay, again, going back to number, I'm a scientist, sorry for that. So, based on the conservative estimates, and those are conservative estimates, South Africa has been giving permit to remove an average of 45 white shark per year for the last 2 decades on a population between 500 and 1,000. That means between 5 and 10% of the entire population gone every single year. And
Wow.
there's no other way to just say that it's unsustainable, not just for white shark, for any shark species. 5 to
Any
10%.
Any species
Is-
on
is
Earth.
way-
I mean, if they did that to us, we'd be gone in a pretty quick 10% a year. If they did it to us,
Yeah.
Doctor, we have a question. Do the orcas eat the sharks?
Okay, very good question. They do not eat the shark, but they're very sophisticated diners in terms of they really target the liver inside the sharks, and the bigger the shark, the bigger the liver. The liver can be almost a 3/4 of the entire body volume, and the liver is full of oil. That's what they use. The shark used to almost balance the gravity, so they become almost negatively buoyant because of this oil in the liver. So the liver is very nutritious. Now, don't ask me how the orcas figure it out, but basically they realize that if they open the white shark more or less where the pectoral girdle is, so at the level of where the pectoral fins are, if they open it up like a little book almost, and they can almost suck it out, the liver, and then comes also the heart with it most of the time. But basically, they can have a very healthy and energetic snack that to eat, and the rest is just is just thrown away. Now that's
It would
interesting.
also depend. It would also
Sorry?
depend on the time. It would also depend on the time of year that the shark was targeted.
Yeah,
I did a
very
video based on what Sal Jorgensen study
Exactly.
did here, that they fatten up and the liver gets really big. And because white sharks, as cartilaginous fish,
Cartilaginous.
don't have the air bladder that bony fish do. They need the liver for the buoyancy, and they take off on this little migration route, and the liver's getting depleted during that time. They lose their buoyancy as they're returning back to shore, returning back to the seal colonies, and then they fatten
Makes
up
sense.
again, eating, and then they've got that liver. Well, imagine if an orca targets them right after they've fattened up and their liver is at full capacity.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's similar to me going on the bush, in the bush, and for 3-4 weeks, and I lose all my fatty layers.
Yeah.
It's similar to the for the sharks. So it, in a way, is a bit of a waste, but for the orcas, is a very targeted interest. Let's call it like that. So very good question.
Cool.
Okay, so unsustainability, no doubt, right? So recap the important number: 40 white shark per year is it's a symptom of a decline. Average mortality by the 2 government permitted activities: 45 white shark per year. Above that, 40. So almost sure, just by looking at number, that should bring a decline. What we know is that since 1991 to 2003, the population of white shark was increasing. What happened after 2003? that we know, the DSL increased its in effort in 2005. Orca started showing their impact in 2016, 2017, and the higher we believe the orca impact is, the more urgent we need to address mortalities of white shark, which are under our control. So, can all this theory make some sense? So, instead of coming up with population number, etc., let's overlap two things, and I want to make it clear. Correlation doesn't mean causation. So if two things seems to be following the same trend, does not necessarily mean one is the cause of the other. But if you can quite clearly see changes in variation or in trends, that start to be a suspicious relationship, at least. Again, the precautionary approach. And again, we're focusing on threats. We know if there are more threats, the more the issue is, like similar to orcas. If we believe that a fleet, let's call it a fleet in the middle of the Indian Ocean, outside South African water, is killing a lot of white shark, the more the urgency of dealing with the sharks board and the demersal shark long line. So when I told you I calculated that the average mortality from the sharks board, that is public knowledge, and the demersal shark long line and the orcas. The demersal shark long line is an estimation, so I calculated an average. This is basically what it looks like, the number of white shark killed in South Africa from the three main sources that we know every single year from 2000 to 2024. This is the 40 threshold. That one that after that, above that, is most likely a decline in the population. This is when the KZN sharks board was the only threats of the three that we know. Then on top of the sharks board, it started adding the demersal shark long line. And then on top of the sharks board and the demersal shark long line, it started to come the killer whales, the orcas. Can this start to be quite obvious? I would say quite yes, but let's also overlap the white shark presence, for example, in Cape Town, here in green. These are number of white shark spotted per hour in Cape Town. As you can see, when the sharks board was the only threats up to 2003, and we know from that paper published by the sharks board itself, the population actually, the numbers were going up, reflected in Cape Town by the number of sighting of white shark per hour. It was going up. The reason why the shark board by itself was below that 40 white shark per year threshold. Okay?
Yeah.
Then we had the demersal shark long line. It shot up above that 40, and look what happened in False Bay in Cape Town. The white shark presence started to go down before port and starboard came into the picture.
What are the responses been to this since you've given, because this seems like it's undeniable. I mean, this seems like a slam dunk. This seems like a slam dunk.
Okay, that it could be argued this is Cape Town. The white shark have moved away because also the demersal shark long line could be seen as a threat by the sharks, so they moved out in other areas. Until we have and that's what I have applied to a permit now to start a project right in the center of the distribution, that Eastern Cape, the area where there's no seal colony. There's been seen an increase in number at least, but until we have a trend there, it's going to be very difficult to prove without doubt that this is a decline in population and not just a shift. But again, I did not promise you the final proof. I promise you a lot of clues, a lot of pieces of the puzzle together that should give us confidence on what needs to be done to at least be precautionary. Then the orcas came into the picture, and it went down to zero. I mean, this is, as you said, to me, it's quite obvious. And again, it supports the impact of the orcas, because the orcas are really the nail in a coffin, but a coffin that was already going underground or already almost underground. The orcas have an impact, especially at a population level, not an individual level, because at individual level there's no doubt they have an impact. At population level is have an impact, I believe, because it was on top of two man-made threats. And that's why the white shark disappeared in Cape Town. So, to go back to your question, I think what's happening is the reason why they're not coming back is because the number are going down, and on one side there is the demersal shark long line on the Western Cape, the areas where there used to be a lot of white shark, Cape Town, Hans Bay, Mossel Bay. And on the other side, you have the sharks board that is killing them. So the remaining white shark have been squeezed in an area that does not have those other threats. But again, so other people says, don't worry, white shark is well protected and the population is stable, and it's only a shift eastward.
I know I'm not supposed to get offensive, but that's a very irresponsible statement.
Look, as I said, obviously nobody asked the sharks board to disappear from one day to another. The majority of us asked to change the approach without losing any job for the people employed, and to change a non-lethal approach that are seen successful in other parts of the world, even in combination with a bit of the lethal approach still. So that is not just a change completely from one day to another. That requires a capital investment in terms of political bargaining chip, political, how do you call it, kind of political investment.
Yeah.
So to do that, you need to provide real certainty data. And again, I don't have certainty, 100% certainty, unfortunately. So there could be still in a third world country like South Africa, resistant in doing a big change with a risk of being wrong.
But everybody's
Again,
had access. Everybody's had access to the information that you've used. It just
Oh,
makes
yeah.
me think that some people have decided to choose to look at some information and not other information.
Sounds like they're making assumptions for convenience, right? When there's no political will to do it, and no one even wants to spend money, it makes sense. They're just going to assume that this other dangerous statement, like you said.
I can't speak on behalf of people,
Okay.
but to me, it can be very risky, because again, I can live very happily with the notion in the future of being wrong. I don't know whether others can live with the notion of being wrong if they didn't push for a change.
As much as some human beings don't like to give credit to animals in terms of their cognitive ability, but if we want to reduce it to the word adaptation, suddenly we're more comfortable. What choice do white sharks have but to adapt to the fact that where they used to eat has been compromised, where they migrate to has been compromised? I mean, what choice do they have but to leave entirely to survive?
And what is remarkable, that conversely to most human being that would be very pissed off, the white shark are concentrating in an area where there's a lot of surfers. I was there a couple of weeks ago, and it's unbelievable where the number of incidents with white shark can be counted on one hand. Unfortunately, there's been a couple of fatal accidents, but considering the white shark numbers and the people overlap, it's incredible that this species is going through so much. And really, the fact that we don't have a bite every single day clearly shows that, first of all, they're not interested in us, and two, that maybe there's other things that we should focus on. All the money that is put on killing, you know, so many sharks, tigers, bulls, white sharks, to avoid killing the killing of less than 5 people per year in a country that has got a murder rate of almost the same number per day.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
but obviously the killing of a person by a shark is a very emotional thing for obviously for
Right.
the person, for the family, at a societal level, at a tourism level. So is you cannot really compare, even though, you know,
Well,
crime
let me
rate
drop it.
can impact tourism too. But yeah, the
Let me drop a list.
on the,
Let me drop the
yeah.
list against the white sharks. First of all, human beings love to promote how dangerous they are. Like, I know
Yeah.
we simultaneously pretend to love them, but you also love to say, "Oh my God, they're so dangerous, the most feared animal," and that's what makes them sellable on Shark Week. Okay, so how exactly are you shocked when one actually does what you claim
Right.
it's going to do, which is, kill, kill, kill? Okay, two, we took away their habitat. Three, we took away their food. We made them move somewhere else. They're adapting to all these changes, and on top of that, you already said that this is what they do. They're killers. They're mindless
Uh-huh.
killers. And then they finally kill when you've taken away every option that they have, and you're like, "Oh, those sons of bitches.
Yeah.
How dare
We
they?"
got to get them all. Hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit of a simplification, but you're right. That's
Yeah.
to me the crazy fact is, if the same money that is used to prevent a shark-related fatality was put on lifesaver life-saving clubs on those the same beaches, you would save more people, because more people have died for rip current in South Africa than by shark bites. So you would save more people, but obviously is a different kind of threat that is perceived by people and tourism. So, but interesting enough, a coastal community is called Plettenberg Bay, which is almost halfway between Port Elizabeth and Cape Town, had a couple of years where the white shark that were moved from Cape Town, Ansby to Mossel Bay, and were going toward the center of abundance. So they were spending less time at the edges, and they were spending more time in, for example, in Plet. They had a couple of years where there had been a couple of fatal bites, and it was really interesting how all the local people decided not to want any shark nets or drumline, any lethal approach, and they decided to use shark spotters instead. And there hasn't been an incident since after. The white shark have also disappeared, but again, there's nothing to go into, culling is more difficult than the other way around. It's very difficult to stop a culling when it's been going on for 60 years. It's also a mindset. But anyway, going back to the eastward shift. Since I'm a little bit pain in the butt, and you can ask the government. Since 2019, I tagged 21 white shark internally, so I had to catch them, and like a microchip for dog, I inserted those tags. Those tags can last up to 10 years, and they work when they pass this tagged animal pass close to a receiver. It communicate with the receiver record that ID, the number of that tag, and then when you retrieve the receiver, you get in all the data to your computer in terms of where that animal has been going. and the receiver coverage are quite good along South Africa, a bit less, but we still have some in Mozambique. And I even shared my code ID, the number of tags, to the Australian researchers. And since 2019, 21 were shark tagged with 10 years tags, and in 2024, only 2 were still pinging. So in less than 6 years,
Wow.
we had almost a 90% mortality rate. Again, it could have been that they moved offshore, or that they are spending time in an area there's no receivers. However, I don't believe a species changes that much its ecology. It doesn't become all of a sudden completely pelagic species. And I'm quite confident on the receiver coverage in South Africa that I am really worried. Again, can't provide the 100% proof that these animals have been killed. Again, not just all the sharks board, not the Demersa shark longliner, can be also orcas, definitely. But the worry is that we are having a very high disappearance rate, no matter what the cause is. So we need to deal with what we have control on. And where are these little hopes for South African white shark? Those are the main areas where you can find every now and then white shark quite reliably. Diop, Plettenberg Bay, Port Elizabeth, Algoa Bay, and Sinsa. Sinsa is that center of the distribution. What all these things have in common? These are all these locations have really nearby a marine protected area. So it makes sense that the white shark can be found where fish biodiversity and biomass, and with fish I mean also sharks, is higher, where marine protected areas, again, where the white shark they left because of the orcas, because of the Demersa shark longline, because of the sharks board, and they are remaining in area where there's still food. Animal in general, quite simple, is either sex or is food. This is not a sex issue, this is a food issue as well. Did we lose? I think we lost.
Oh yeah, it's okay. He does multiple shows a day, and he's got to move on.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, but we almost finished. We adapted that simulation model, and we included the number of mortality by the sharks board, by the Demersa shark longline, and the orcas. And this is the sad situation. We are most likely from 2017 into a decline. These are the two population estimates that were given, and we are in both cases, no matter what either population is, in both cases we are at a declining phase. And what is very scary is that if the population was already low, like Sara Andreotti said, we could face local ecological extinction in less than 30 years. Obviously, when you are less than 150, which would be 15 years from now, basically the hope is lost, because also inbreeding, etc. So this is a really worrying graph. And again, to put into perspective, this was Mossel Bay 10 years ago. Just 10 years ago, there was a whale that beached and died, and this is the number. Obviously, it created like a funnel, all the white shark in the area congregated, but this is the number. I hope you can see each of these dots is a white shark, a great white shark. This is the number we would expect to have if it was just a shift in distribution, and we do not see the same numbers. But this is what we were able to lose in less than 10 years. South Africa was considered the white shark capital of the world. There were documentaries, as you said, coming from all over the world because of the accessibility to white sharks. And and in just 10 years, we lost it all. The cascading effect is also not only nature-wise, but is also economic-wise. This is a study that was done from a US company that calculated the value of white sharks in Southern Africa over 30 years. And we're talking about more than $240 million, which is 4 billion rand in 30 years. It's a massive amount. Politicians understand numbers, money, so that's why I wanted to put it here. It's not just the value of ecotourism, it's the natural value, is the aesthetic value, is the cultural value. So it's a complex evaluation, and I don't understand much of this, but it was estimated at that number, 240 million US dollars. It's massive. And again, loss of tourist revenue, all gone now. Operator, restaurant, hotel, flights, etc. We went from this to this because we did not, or at least so far, accepted that there is an issue and we need to do something about it. We have the power to do something about it. And in a way, has been a very similar issue, the white shark with the penguin. The penguin was all over the news in South Africa because it's been assessed as critically endangered, and the government has been taken to court by several organizations, NGOs, etc., because it has not been done enough. To me, the issue are different. The white shark is the shark's board and the demersal shark longline. The penguin is the trawling industry, pelagic trawling, etc. But the core problem is the same, is the mismanagement of nature and the non-realization early enough, and the non-acceptance, non-realization, the non-acceptance that we are the problem and we can change it. And again, as you said, and I want to conclude here, South Africa was the first country in the world that decided to protect white shark based on a precautionary approach because the importance of the species. And again, if we can protect the most iconic, the most charismatic, the most revenue generating species in the world, what chances most of the species have against our unsustainable use of nature? What's the little cat shark, what chances does it have? And that's why a lot of my critics says, oh, you work just on white sharks. If we can't protect the white shark, we have no chance to protect other species.
Thank you.
South Africa was the first country, the beam of light to all world in terms of protection of marine environment. And yet it could become, in less than 15 years, the first country in the world to lose this iconic species, this important, not just iconic, important species. And that would leave us with a gloomy picture of an ocean without a white shark. And that is an ocean I do not want to swim in. That's basically it. It's a bit sad so far, but I hope to come back in the next year or so and provide that hope that I really would like to contribute to. Thank you.
That was amazing. Really excellent work. And to one of your last points, the penguin. The penguin is cute. The penguin's cuddly to a lot of people. The penguin is a relatable species, and yet it doesn't hold a candle to the iconic status of a white shark. And yet, and yet, they've chosen not to help the white shark. I still haven't had, ever since you guys started bringing this to my attention, I've had the same question. How can the demersal shark fishery outweigh all the economic information that you provided that the white shark was bringing in?
Yeah. It's a good question. It doesn't not contribute to food security. It does not make sense economically because it's impacting a much bigger industry in terms of revenue for South Africa. It does not make sense in terms of job creation, again, impacting a bigger industry. It does not make sense also for the people that buy. Most of these sharks actually have research has shown that it's got a very high level of content of heavy metals, mercuries, etc. So most of a friend of mine in Australia said that most of the shark coming from South Africa are a cheap import compared to New Zealand, and they usually go through the school system. So the Australians are actually feeding heavy metals to their kids. So no matter how you look, this ecologically obviously doesn't make sense. No matter how you look, this fishery, it does not make sense, and yet government is really like with everything in their power are defending this fishery. This fishery has been caught fishing inside marine protected area, not just caught by the public, not by the government, it has been caught by the public, opened a court case to the police, push for the prosecution, the judge found the fishery and the vessel guilty not only of fishing inside the marine protected area, but because of the meaning of marine protected area, guilty of damage to the environment, which gave the first and the biggest penalty, financial penalty in the history of South Africa, and came from the public, not from the government. Nowadays, I just presented at the last Shark and Ray Symposium a scientific conference of all shark scientists, shark and ray scientists in Southern Africa. I presented data from this fishery using Global Fishing Watch that the remaining boat has been fished in the last 2 years more than 50 times inside marine protected area. Not once it was caught. I caught this vessel cutting heads and tails so that they cannot be recognized at the harbor when they offloaded. So an hammerheads that they're not supposed to be caught, cut the head. Good luck in recognizing. It's difficult for me to recognize it. Imagine for a fishery official. Has been caught by I personally took photos in broad daylight of all this breaking of their permit condition. I reported. The inspector at the harbor found evidence of all these things and find this vessel of just over $100 fine, and they allowed the catch to be kept, so they were allowed to sell the catches, so they made much more money. So basically the message that the government is passing to these guys is do it, because if we catch you, or if they catch you, the public catches you, which is not often, and at least at worst we give you a little slap on the hands and that's it. None of these boats that have been found guilty by the judge or by the inspector has lost their permits. So if you ask me why they're defending this thing, I think it's a simple problem of number for South Africa. In a way, I can understand. Job with more than 50% unemployment rate in South Africa is massive. So any extra cut in job possibility is a loss that South African government doesn't want to take.
South Africans were employed by the shark industry. I remember. I know a lot
sure.
I know a lot of the owners were white, but a lot of the people working
No,
for
sure.
the company
But
were,
it's not just
were
the guys on the boats were not all white. Actually, they came from different backgrounds and mostly local communities. But it's not just the boats. It's again the tourism, the taxi drivers, the hotel managers, the flights attendant is massive.
Yeah.
If you ask me
imagine what
how,
you just
I
said.
can't explain it.
Imagine what you just said in terms of, hey, we catch them breaking the law this many times. We catch them in MPAs this many times. We catch, I mean, what it can only be assumed is the intentional targeting of species they're not supposed to be targeting by chopping off identifiable parts. And no action's being taken. And yet, you already told me that some propositions were made to take action against orcas who don't hold
The
anything
proposition were
close.
from crazy people, but yeah.
I
But yeah, no,
but still, humans were ready to at least look at, oh, let's punish nature. And where would it end, by the way? Because as I already pointed out, it's not just uh, uh, starboard and port. You, w- once you go and hunt down port and starboard, what then? What you going to go hunt and kill the rest of the orcas? I mean, we just continue to deplete the ocean until the only thing out there killing is the fishing industry. Only we are allowed to kill.
it's worse than that because we, you know, the movie Matrix that say that we are not an animal species, we are more like a virus because we
Oh, Matrix,
destroy
yeah,
our host
yeah, yeah.
until there's nothing for us and we die. That's basically why Elon Musk wants to go to Mars in a way because but and that's to me is the crazy things about most of these fisheries. They, even if the government put every now and then some restriction to try to stretch, is not to improve, but to stretch the sustainability of this fishery to a bit longer. There is, they, any of those restrictions are fought a lot by this fishing that fishing industry, and that to me is crazy because it is in their best interest in the long term. They want to fish for the next 30 years. Their sons and daughters, they can carry on fishing for the next 100 years. They don't care. It's and that's the issue with human society. It's short-term gains versus long-term
Yep.
benefits.
Yep.
That's it. That's the one of the biggest issues. But yeah.
Boy, I wrote down a lot of things that I want to ask you, but we've gone long. I don't know if you
Yeah.
would be willing to come back and do a follow up to this, because man, you've got 15 years of work in here. I want to give it its due acknowledgement. Or
Thank
we
you.
can.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to come back, especially if there's questions and interests and things. I'm happy, and again, I really hope that and there is some sign of possible changes, and hopefully different we can as different researchers really put our heads together and our effort together and really basically push for a change. That would be the best thing that I could hope for.
What's the reaction been to your research so far?
Um, Mixed. The public is very supportive. The conservationists obviously are very supportive. Within the government, I've seen both. There's, like in everything, there's good people and bad people, or at least from one perspective. So I've had both, but again, uh, I know this is what basically I owe so much to the species that even if it was completely against my best interest, I would carry on. So, and I actually I don't have any interest at the moment. But yeah, hopefully it's better in the future.
One life. Do what's right while you're here. It's short.
Yeah. One thing as I really would like is my daughter now she's 14 and she was on tagging a white shark with me last year and it was incredible. So that seeing in her eyes what I saw, I still remember the first time I saw a white shark. in South Africa. By the way, that was a lifelong dream because I told my mom when I was 5 years old that I want to study white shark in South Africa when I was five. And then in 28, when I was 28, I came to South Africa, and I remember that excitement, going around in that boat that I first went to on when I saw my first small white shark, and I saw the excitement in my daughter, and I can't believe that she might not have that opportunity to see it again, and definitely the daughter or son of my daughter might definitely not be able to see it at all. So that's the scary thing.
I think I was
We are
probably
allowing
about
it to
28
happen
when I saw my
under
first
our
white
eyes.
shark in South Africa. That's it.
Sorry?
I was just thinking, I think I was pretty close to 28 when I saw my first white shark in South Africa. It's interesting. Man, there were a lot of them back then. Now, and so is the bronze whaler industry still going, or is that over with too? If the seal colony's gone, I mean, what's taking place on these islands and these reefs?
In term, I was discussing with a fixer, one of these guys that organized the documentaries behind the scenes, and he was doing a documentary on the whole white shark shifting and the orca story years ago, and he told me how, but they did. Besides filming the white shark, they went diving as well in the reefs and looking at with bravs with those cameras that you deploy. And he was so surprised, amazed by the fact that already then, when there were still white shark in Ansbach, basically the reefs were dead. So it was, for him, it was really, when he started to see the frequency of which those boats were coming on those reefs, it was really simple, 1+1 = 2. And I didn't tell him anything about that stuff, so it was really interesting for me. In terms of the bronze whaler, the cage diving are still doing cage diving in Falls Bay and in Ansbach with bronze whalers. So funny enough, the bronze whaler, even though they're targeted by orcas and they've been taken, they care a bit less, and maybe because they're in larger groups. Anyway, they disappear for 1 or 2 days, but they come back. They're less impacted by the orcas. It's quite interesting intra-specific differences. But yeah, no, they're still going. So the cage diving operator are now going for bronze whalers, which is good. Is important for tourism, important for South Africa, so that's good. Just that we lost one of the best free advertisement in the world, in the animal kingdom. It's unbelievable. I mean,
I got to tell you, a lot of people would fly to Africa for a white shark. They're not going to fly to Africa for a bronze whaler.
no, sure. No, I agree with you. In fact, usually it's people that are already there doing other things, and then they say, okay,
Right.
let's do that. But they don't fly for that. I mean, what was Planet Earth or David Attenborough? I can't remember the first time that breaching white shark came. There was a surge in number of tourism coming to Cape Town. It was impressive, and it was free advertisement. South Africa had to do nothing, and we lost it. So yeah, anyway, crazy.
Well, I have a ton of questions for you, but I'm going to keep it short because we've already gone long. Well, not long, but hey, you know the attention spans of humans. But this was great information. I really appreciate you sharing it with us, and I know the audience appreciated it too.
Great.
And
Yeah, I'm happy to come back if there is need, and happy to have feedback. I'm not always. I'm not right. As I said, I want to be wrong. So, but yeah,
Right.
thank you so much. Is there someone? Oh, thank you. Sorry, I'm not seeing.
yeah, he says, thank you, Dr. Gennari, for caring so much about the sharks, the ocean, It's beautiful creatures. Your heart shines through, imbues your research.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate those kind words. And as I said, call me Enrico, but thank you very much. Really, really, really nice. Um, what do you say?
I'm 40 years old, and when I was a little boy, our farmlands had a bunch of migrating birds breeding on them. And now, 30 years later, if they are there breeding, the baby chicks almost never survive anymore. That's if they even land. Yeah, I mean, it's different than the ocean story, but it's one I can relate to here. In California, we have something called the Pacific Flyway, and we don't have birds on it anymore.
Yeah, yeah. The impact is incredible, and yeah, again, the crazy things is that we don't have option B. There's no planet B, so yeah,
Maybe if you're a
it's
billionaire, maybe five or
yeah,
six of you can go to somewhere else. Wow.
yeah. But yeah, that's the crazy things is that even personally I struggled to even. I mean, I love my daughter, but I don't know whether I would. The concept of having a second one, I don't know. Anyways, so we're going really into different topics, but really need to do everything we can for what we have at the moment because it can be gone so quickly, and that's maybe the biggest message of the whole
Well, I
talk
know you
today.
have faced some adversity, fighting the good fight. I know people in the comments are showing their appreciation. I have my appreciation.
Thank you. Thank you.
And also thank you, Skyjack Morgan, for co-hosting earlier and balancing all the different shows. And thank you for continuing to share your knowledge over the years. You and Chris Fallows and Sarah have been trying to get the word out. This isn't brand new. You guys have been trying. We humans need to look at ourselves instead of blaming nature.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's hope that the number of people it will increase and we manage to bend the curve once again. That would be a fantastic story. That really will make everything worth it. We bend the curve a second time. What a day that would be.
Indeed, what a day that would be. I'll have you back on. We'll talk offline and we'll schedule something. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Have a good night. In South Africa, it's night. Good night.
Good night.
Cheers. Bye.